You're listening to Slightly Uncomfortable. Are you ready?
All right. Well, let's get the show started.
Okay.
Welcome to Slightly Uncomfortable.
And we are.
What's that?
And we are.
We are already slightly uncomfortable, but we're drinking bourbon, and that normally helps our comfort level. In the house tonight, we have three folks, myself and Root and Alex.
Hello, hello.
And we are doing the most uncomfortable show that we've done to date. Would you all agree with that?
Well, you two are doing this show. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing this show yet.
Oh, like
We'll
you can
just see
sit
what
there
happens.
quietly.
I'm pretty sure I
Oh,
won't
the
be quiet.
innocence.
Yeah, well, let's set aside the innocence, but wow.
Well, and just remember, I'm the only one here that actually has a real person associated with my name.
And I'm still freaked out.
I know. So let me give a little background as to why we are doing this particular show. This is 100% user or listener driven.
It's NPR.
Coming up next, we've got coitus. If you're enjoying our broadcast, please donate to our Patreon. No, it actually stemmed from some complaints we got about a previous show. And yes, I've gotten complaints about some of our shows, and we listened to everything, criticism and hurrahs as well. But we did a previous show on pornography. And there are three ladies, and I consider these women ladies. They're not girls, they're not chicks, they're not, I mean, when you think of lady, that's what comes to mind. And each of them, although they did not know each other, complained that the pornography episode that we did was not dirty enough. And I'm like, what? All right, you're much more attractive to me right now, ma'am, but what do you mean it's not dirty enough? And they started telling, they thought we would get into the dirtiness of pornography, maybe talking about the different genres and the different categories within that. And I'm like, to be honest with you, and maybe you guys will agree or disagree, guys don't sit around and talk about pornography with other guys.
No.
Would you all agree with that?
Yeah, that's agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to know what's on Root's hit list.
No, you don't.
And definitely not Alex's.
No. Well, I might.
But they're. And now I'm uncomfortable again. So they all said that we needed to make it dirtier, and I'm like, well, we don't really make things dirty. They either come to us or they don't. And so two of the ladies, independent of one another, suggested that we do a show simply on sex. That's what this show is. Now, I don't know if we truly knew how to tackle this show.
I'm absolutely certain that we did not.
Yeah.
That's why we turned it over to you.
We turned it, well, by you, they mean me.
Well, I was talking to the
We meant the
listeners.
audience.
Yeah, everything's about James, of course.
Well, of course. So, yeah, we created a survey. And these survey questions, just so you know, none of us come up with any of these questions. If you thought that these questions, when you tried to do this survey, or when you did this survey, and we really appreciate the response, we were quite blown away by how many people took time out of their day to respond to this. But if you looked at this survey and go, I cannot believe those guys asked that question.
We didn't.
It wasn't us. It was y'all.
Yeah, all y'all.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our survey as our script tonight. And just so everybody knows, we filled out this very same survey.
Yes, we did.
This survey is anonymous for anyone that fills it out, including us. That gave us an out. Because I don't want you all to know what I'm into. Not just the guys in this room. Sadly, they know some things, and that's why they sit on the other table.
Yeah.
But I don't want all the listeners to know what shit I'm into. So we're going to read these responses without owning any of them.
Nope.
But we will discuss them organically as we come about. Everybody all right with that?
I get
Sounds
it.
good.
No longer matters. We're in the show. So,
I have not seen Root this uncomfortable.
can I just give a little caveat?
Sure. A caveat?
A caveat. Yeah.
I like to say it fancier, caveat.
Oh yes. Well, you see, I'm from Kentucky. We don't do that. I've been on the hunting trips. Played the football.
I love the football.
I've done just about every man thing, right? but this is not a conversation that comes up, boys.
Then you ain't hanging out with the right fellas. I mean,
well, apparently I am now.
because as I've told people before, and I mean, Alex and I have had these conversations. Lloyd, who's not here tonight, and we'll talk about that probably later, because we've never seen. You know, it's tough to catch Lloyd and Root in the same room at the same time. We don't know what's going on with that, but there's. Anyway, I think Lloyd's out shopping for a scarf because he needs more attention from Root. But yeah,
I just
Alex
don't think he's going to wear it as well.
Alex would not let him borrow his the last time. But absolutely, I've sat around and discussed stuff like this. Guys can talk about sex because sex is something everybody does. You know, and sometimes guys get into it just sitting there, one up in one another. Where the case, I don't think that happens at our age now, but I do think it happened when we were younger of one upping and comparing notes and stuff like that. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Well, even as a teen, I never got into that, and some of the guys around, particularly in football season, that would happen, and 90% of them are lying, but it's just not something that ever intrigued me, and honestly, when those kinds of conversations come up with the people who I knew then, and then in college later, who I knew were sexually involved with these other people that they're talking about, man, that just rubs me the wrong way. It just
There'll
really
be no
rubs me
rubbing.
the wrong way. But maybe it scratches me the wrong way.
There was a TV
Perhaps a
show
claw.
called Rules of Engagement, and it was a short-lived TV show with one of my favorite actors, Patrick Warburton. But the premise was, it wasn't a good show. If y'all haven't seen it, you're lucky. But the premise was they had a single guy, they had an engaged couple, and they had a married couple. And a lot of times the guys would sit around and compare notes when it comes in. The single guy would be coming in and talking about his wild hijinks, about models and about these two ladies or whatever the case may be. And the other guys were going, man, that's really cool. That's really cool. Then the engaged guy would talk about how wild his girlfriend is, and how crazy she is and all that sort of stuff about sex. And everybody's like, yeah, that's awesome. She's hot. That's cool. But then the married guy would say something like, dude, that's sick. That's your wife you're talking about, for God's sake. And I think maybe that may be something that Root was concerned with in this, is that he's been a part of a 30-year relationship.
Yep.
And so he's going to talk about this from a high level and discuss the answers, as are we. It kind of gives us a bit of an out, although you'll see it's going to devolve a bit at some point.
Probably a lot. Hand me a cube,
A cube?
please.
I'm sorry, I'm not your bartender.
Well, it's
The
on your
cube
side of the damn
cube
table.
is in the freezer.
You didn't bring your
The
Yeti?
The cube is in the freezer.
Go
so I'm sorry, mister. I drink my bourbon straight like a man.
I do. I just want to try the still house out on the rock.
Evidently, you thought I was your cube bitch.
I
All right,
thought-
shall we
thought you
get
brought cubes
shall we
down.
get the
Fuck
show
you.
started, or do you need something else?
No, I am quite fine, James. Please continue.
Here we go with our first question on our survey. And the way we like to do this, since Root was indisposed the last show that we did this with, is one of us will read the question, and then we'll go around the table and read responses.
All right.
And now we may be blocking some of these responses together due to time constraints and also due to similarities of response.
And we just don't have enough time to get through them all.
Right. That would be time constraints. Wow. It's like he doesn't even listen. We may just read them off in a list, too, if the response are short enough. But I think this one's pretty good. I'll start off with, do women or men enjoy sex more? First response? God, he doesn't listen.
First response says men.
All right.
Both.
I think men do. They don't hide their drive.
All depends on the person. I think it is more socially acceptable for men to express their true thoughts once, therefore, women may be denying themselves the enjoyment. What the fuck is that?
Well, no,
It's a response.
okay. Alex?
Me.
That sounded
I
personal.
love that, yeah. Now, what's the response to the question? All right, next one is both.
Women, multiple orgasms. Smiley face.
And let me remind everybody that we do not know the gender.
No.
Nobody has to state their gender prior to completing the survey. So when you hear both and you hear women, multiple orgasms, that has a smiley face with it. So you're assuming that that is a woman saying, "Hey, look what we can do." But we don't know. Maybe the guy just really likes having a lady with multiple orgasms. All right. Next.
Women.
Not sure who enjoys it more, but in general, it's more important to men.
Really, if women were more honest about it, I would say that they're pretty even. Okay.
I'd say both, but just some more than others. I can only answer for myself, and I love it when it's truly intimate.
Hard to say and speak for the opposite sex, so this person chose not to say either way.
Depends on the person, not the gender. I think that's true.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
She wants it more, but I never say no.
Oh, he's such a giver. It's a debate.
Equally.
Men do, because we try harder to get it. It means more once we do.
Silly Q. Just read them verbatim, folks.
Both of done right. I think it should be both if done right.
And Alex should be saying right now, who can say really?
Who can say really?
All right.
So thoughts about that, gentlemen, about these responses? It doesn't seem like that we have really a agreement here. It seems like it's almost right down the middle with a couple of depends.
Yeah, and
Which is kind of a down the middle too, right?
Right, yeah.
well, but I think one of them said depends on the person, not the gender. I think there's something to that.
Agree. I'm gonna go ahead and echo the one that says men have to try harder. So when they do get it, I think at times it can mean more to them. Because we do. I mean, the reality of it, kids, is a lady can go out to a bar and depending on their level of discretion, they can get laid. I was a young man that went out to bars and sock hops and dances with all the intent of getting laid, and not one time did I ever get laid when I did that. But yet a lady with that same mindset, they could bat 1,000. So I do think, in my mind, it probably means a little bit more to the guy when mission is accomplished. Because women are programmed, sadly, to say no. Guys are programmed to push. Well, or to Kenna, how about now? How about now? They're in the doorway with their pants around their ankles. How about now?
I'm not sure.
15 minutes? How about now?
I'm not sure. Maybe I read into your word programmed, but I think that's it's part of the hunt process too. I think. Man, that's a loaded thing. That's a loaded question all the way around because.
Well, sure it is. Sure it is. That's why we did it. But no, we didn't write the question again. This is your all. So if it's a silly Q, it's on you.
Well, and I think silly Q person is onto something there too, because that might be the point that I'm trying to make,
Or then again, maybe not.
or the point that I'm not making. Yeah,
Or maybe they thought the answer was obvious,
That could
which
be
clearly
too.
it wasn't.
It was not.
Well, when you answer, if you think the answer is obvious and you answer it that way, you're kind of defeating your purpose.
Now, I thought this next question was rather interesting. And again, we didn't come up with these; the listeners did. And we thank everybody that helped us along with this task because we could not have done this, I don't think, independently. What does an orgasm feel like?
We coming back my way again?
Yeah, that's how it works.
All right. A full body euphoric spasm.
Relief.
What I would imagine being struck by lightning would feel like, but in a good way.
Whoever answered that, I hope I don't have one of those. 'Cause in a good way, I don't give a shit. You get struck by lightning, that shit hurts. That's all I got. All right, so the next one. Like all is good with the universe.
The great release.
This one gets me. Great pain for a second, then great pleasure. We'll talk about these at the end.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. Unbelievable. Feels so good.
This
There-
is a long one.
Here comes the
Might
line.
want to take a drink there, Joe.
There are so many types of orgasms, especially for women. I love the ones that electrify your whole body and make you explode, where you can feel your heart beating and blood seizing until you're completely encompassed in sexual gratification. But the slow, intense ones are wonderful too.
Please continue. I'll have to go have one now.
We just had our first flag of surrender, and it was not rude.
Technical difficulties. Here.
Oh, technical
I
difficulties.
thought he was spent. Alex is over at full candy corn. All right, the next one is fireworks.
Intense pleasure, no words.
Pulsating pleasure through my whole body.
Oh, why do they have to give me the long ones?
God help us all.
There is a different kinds of orgasms. Clitoral stimulation. When it starts, it feels like the beginning of a sneak, but then becomes so intense, your clitoral muscles literally contract, and it's like a rush of ecstasy. I can't even describe. Orgasm from penetration, it's like a feeling that builds up until it explodes. Your legs shake. With every thrust, you feel like you may lose control of yourself.
I think he had far too much fun reading that. Yeah. I ain't even going to try and compete. Because I got to go home. A burst of exquisite energy that surges through my whole body and takes my breath away.
All of my worries and aches were just released from my body.
Release.
Euphoria.
Hers or mine.
Wave of energy was intense and a huge release.
That sounded recent. Sweet release.
Full body seizure with ultimate relaxation.
Oh, God, here we go. You were waiting on this one.
Oh, yeah.
A slow swell from my clit to explosion or a sudden explosion from my clit. It kind of depends. That was awkward.
I like this one. The universe explodes and then goes silent all at once.
Somebody's a Star Trek Wars fan.
I like it. Now, Alex had technical difficulties during that. I don't know if it's technical difficulties. He left the room and he was.
Yeah. He kind of.
And now he came back and the scarf's all messed up. So, thoughts on our list of what an orgasm feels like? And I'll be honest, when I answered this one, I struggled with trying to put that into words, even though some of these words are mine. Any thoughts on that? I think I have a problem with the whole great pain for a second, then pleasure. I don't know what you all are doing to get off, but if it hurts, if that's a common thread for you and you're
Maybe they're into it.
yeah, we're not judging.
Nope.
The tree of trust here. We're not judging.
There's the French expression for orgasm is the little death. So I could see where that's coming from. Like from it's like this moment of loss of consciousness almost.
Yeah, I'm not too far from you there, but
I
struck by
noticed you were
lightning.
getting close.
Okay, but the struck by lightning thing, I just don't know.
Well, I think what we can surmise from these answers is it's very intense until it's ultra relaxation.
Yeah,
I think that's a common thread in all this. Even a couple of those people could write erotica. I think I read
They
some of their
just
work
did.
in Penthouse Forum way back in the day. Any other thoughts about the feeling of an orgasm? All right, we're moving on. Ladies, gentlemen, have you ever faked an orgasm? And if so, why?
never.
Hell no. He's got
still not
technical
here.
difficulties
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, yes. So the other person to finish.
Twice. Once when I was too young to know any better, and once when I truly felt sorry for my partner and just did not have it in my heart to let them know.
I'm beginning to think this is rigged. That's not one of the responses. This is one of the
That's what
responses.
she said.
Although it could be a response. All right, here's the response. Pulled it out, spit on her back because I was tired of fucking her. That's honesty right there.
Next response is no.
He gets yes, usually to end things if things aren't progressing.
Yes. Second session in a row, and I just wasn't going to finish.
Yes, because it wasn't good.
Used to, but I got over that in my 20s. Thought I needed to for the guy's sake.
Yeah, we'll get back to that one. Not that I can remember.
Absolutely. My crotch was basically dead if I happen to have a few more than usual drinks. So I have to fake it in order for it to end.
No need to, because I enjoy sex and I'm picky of who I have it with.
Oh, well, of course they are. If anything, this group sounds like a picky group of people. All right. No.
That's actually nope.
No, I said no.
Oh,
You're prematurely saying. I'm sure that never happens to him.
that was good. No, didn't have to.
Nope, that's not that.
Sleepy and just needed to go. I'll find it eventually
God, he is sweating.
because I'm burning up.
Root is
Sleepy-
physically sweating.
Now I found the right one. They won't let me say it. Sleepy and just needed to go home.
Nope.
He gets all these. No, didn't have to.
Yep. I'm difficult or gas money to achieve. I don't know what that means. I'm reading that right too, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm difficult or gas money to achieve. It can bother my partner, so I have to fake it to save their feelings. So I think I'm difficult, and it's hard for them to have an orgasm or
This
something.
is spoken.
Yeah, it's voice to text.
I am a difficult orgasm to achieve. That's what.
Yes,
it should
he
be.
is.
Walked right into it. You're up.
No.
I'm up. Well, I just had to read yours again. So, no, and it is a deal breaker if I find that my partner has.
Yes. It just wasn't going right.
That's not what that says.
It just wasn't doing it right.
He just wasn't doing it right.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I thought that last
Shit
part
wasn't
was
working. And the last one,
As a guy, it's hard to fake.
Alex, or do we have you back yet?
Yep.
Okay, great. Because sometimes we don't know.
So last one, yes, wind things down while not giving the impression I was dissatisfied.
All right, guys, chime in.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and start for everybody since there's dead air. This is a hot button topic for me. Being a fella, that I don't think that as a lover, I'm a selfish guy. And I want to know that whatever happens or does not happen is genuine. And if I find out my partner is faking anything, that's a deal breaker. I'm out. I don't really care the reason. If you can't communicate with me, whatever's going on at the time, if it's not working for you, tell me. If it's too late, tell me. If you're sleepy, tell me. If your belly hurts, tell me. I want to know what I'm hearing from you and seeing from you is genuine. If I find out that a partner of mine fakes it, we're done. And there may be a warning one time, but then all of a sudden now that seed of doubt has been placed in my mind, and I start looking back in hindsight of the times that we've been together and what I thought was going on. Did it? So I don't think this is a cool practice at all. We are fucking adults. If you're doing this, you should stop. If you're having sex with somebody you can't communicate if something's not going the way you want it to, stop having sex with them.
I agree. I would agree. There's a point in that relationship, whether it is that 3-hour-long relationship or that 30-year-long relationship, where in that point, that ultimate trust is achieved, where you're willing to literally put your life on the line, because in this day and age, that's exactly what we're doing. So you're willing to do that, but you're not going to be that kind of open and honest with somebody?
And if you're with somebody that their skin is too thin to take, all right, this isn't working for me tonight, and they immediately put that blame on themselves. I mean, hell, I've had nights where it wasn't working for me, and I'm like, I'm tapping. You know, this isn't going to happen. You can hang from the ceiling if you want to. It's just not going to work. It happens. Sometimes the world creeps in the bed, and things get between your ears that doesn't have anything to do with what's going on between your legs, but it does affect it.
Absolutely.
So if you don't have a thick enough skin to take your partner saying something, or you don't have enough cojones, male or female, to actually say what's going on, you probably shouldn't be engaging in adult activities.
Right. Yeah.
Alex?
I agree.
He's like,
Yep.
yeah. All right. I love some of the responses, though. The whole spitting on the back,
Yeah.
whether that was something that person had just heard in the past and wanted to repeat it, or whether that's something they've actually done, kudos for bringing that one up and letting us remember
Yeah.
that.
It was interesting reading.
Yeah. Now I
And
think.
thanks for letting Root be the one to have to read it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Did you notice? Well, you didn't, Alex. You wasn't here. You were doing something.
yeah. He was ordering a new scarf on Amazon.
That's what he was doing. But he got all the one words. Yep. Nope. No. No. Yes.
Well,
no.
because I wrote the
no,
fucking
yes.
survey.
No, you didn't.
Moving on. I wrote it. I got the responses, and I put it in the. the
So
forms.
you cooked the books.
No, I did. I work for state government. I think this may be something that let's do it this way. I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to read the really short responses, and then we get to that long one. Root, you take that one. Or Alex, one of the two. I don't really care.
Whatever.
This is, what's the most orgasms that you have had in a one-day session / 24-hour period? And it starts off with 4, 6, 5, 7 in 24 hours, 20 plus, more than I can count, 22, 7.
So I lost count when I tried. Given the right circumstance, I come over and over almost immediately. It largely has to do with how turned on I am.
I have no idea because I've tried to count, and it just takes away from the experience a lot.
You left out a word, but next responses didn't count.
4.
10 with 3 different ladies. Hey now. Hey now.
We
They
don't
just
know.
put that in there to brag. That wasn't the question.
That is a high five.
Wait, though. Is that one woman with 3 different ladies? One man with 3 different ladies?
Could be.
We don't know.
We don't know.
12.
Lost count.
Is that it? Is that the last one?
That's where we're going to stop.
All right. So, any takeaways from this, gentlemen?
22 in a 24-hour period. I don't care, male or female. They are sore as fuck.
Fair. Well, you also got a 20 plus.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they were together.
I think
it was
that,
a lively
I think
time.
that again, if you're counting, if you're counting, 1, 2, yeah, I get that. All right. But if you're counting and you're into the 20s and you're still trying to count and log it in and make
Somebody's
a
not doing
record
it
of
right.
it, I mean,
When you're repeatedly getting struck by lightning,
Right.
there's pain until there's not. We're not saying you're wrong. We're just saying we like how you party. Any other thoughts about the number of, and as I've gotten older, I will make a confession. As I've gotten older, I like to concentrate on that first one and bring it. Just bring that A game that first time. All right. After that, it's just borrowed money for me. I'm not saying I'm not capable, but I am 51 fucking years old and I got to work tomorrow.
It sounds like what James is saying is he ain't as good as he once was, but he's as good once as he ever was.
Here, man, if I bring it really good the first time, there don't need to be a second half. If there was a blowout in the first half, just retire the game. Leave to
I'm
find
just
another
leaving
game.
that one alone too.
All right, next question. What is one thing sexually you wish your partner did more of? Root.
Of course.
None of these are all right. We've already covered the easy questions.
I know.
Going forward, this is going to get a lot more uncomfortable, and we're going to see a lot more sweating from Root.
Oral sex, blowjobs mean love.
have sex with me.
Let's remind one another of the question. What is one thing sexually you wish your partner did more of? Have sex with me. That sounds like read that in an Ernest T. Bass voice. That's perfect. All right, next one. You think you had a rough one, Root. Here's my next one. Anal stimulation while giving head. While giving head. Oh. It's a mental image I'm working on.
Changes
now.
things up a little, doesn't it?
Look, that's a curveball right there. Go ahead.
So apparently it's me with the blowjob night. So blowjobs. That's the next one.
Blowjob for everyone. You get a blowjob. You get a blowjob.
Anal.
Rougher.
He could pretty much go down on me or fuck me anywhere and it wouldn't be enough. How about that?
Well, that's got to be a hard litmus test to live up to. You could pretty much do anything you're capable of I'm still not satisfied. All right, we don't need to comment on them as we go. We'll comment them on.
It's
Although
gonna be
maybe
hard.
we should.
It's going to be hard.
That's what she said. Alex,
Initiated.
just more sex, like all the time. That sounds like something Droopy would say. Just more sex, all the time.
Spanking.
Fingering me.
Foreplay for sure. They usually have a little foreplay, but then they jump into it pretty quickly.
Oral.
Of course.
Of course, it's my turn.
Initiate sex.
Swallow.
Be more aggressive.
Simple. Anal.
Is it simple anal or is it simple?
Oh, there was a ... in there.
Oh, okay. So it's all about punctuation at this point because when you're talking about butt love, punctuation matters.
It kind of does.
All right.
And lube.
Preferably in the opposite order.
Oral, oral, oral. BJ equals love.
Sounds like somebody entered that one twice. Going down on me.
Blowjobs.
Dirty talk. And that's it. All right. This is really fun. And we could take a real high level approach at this
Yeah,
to
but
say
why?
that.
We haven't done that yet.
No, but I mean, and that's what we got in trouble for with the
well,
pornography
that's
episode.
true.
We could take a high.
Exactly which of these haven't you done?
We need a different survey for Root. And we'll tell him that everyone's filling it out.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll get Lloyd over and we'll just read Root's survey.
There's not enough time, gentlemen. Not enough time.
But, how many of these things I would be curious to see that the folks, including us, that have filled out this survey actually speaks to their partner about. Because I don't know that any of these, they did not seem too extreme just at first glance. You're talking about, oral, anal, and foreplay. And if we're going to sit here and talk about sex in 2019, that's something that's incorporated in most sexual relationships, if not all, but most.
And the time, 2019, 1919, 1819.
Oh, no. I disagree because I think with what we've been exposed to in our lifetime, it used to be a kinky video on a porn channel was two girls and a guy. Or two girls together. Oh, my God, two girls together. But now that's the norm.
It wasn't in Rome. It was absolutely the norm in Rome, in Greece,
Well, but
in
I'm saying
colonial America.
But growing up now the way we have, we're indoctrinated to that to where that's not the exception to the rule. That's now the rule. Oh, almost like 50 Shades of Grey has brought BDSM into the forefront of conversations that before these same people would have never ever mentioned that lifestyle ever. Things are not as uncomfortable for us now as they were 30 years ago.
I would
Much more commonplace.
I would agree with that, but I think we're getting back to a place where we used to be. This isn't new.
Well, I'm talking about in our lifetime, just in our 50 years of being alive.
Well,
because we grew up when sexual repression was prevalent.
Yeah, and in some places outlawed.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Hell, 2/3 of the responses on here would put people in jail.
I think Alex has drifted off again.
I think he did.
No. So the thing in here,
We poked him.
No, not like that.
I won't tell.
Although the night's young.
So,
Oh, Jesus.
so the thing that one of the things that was interesting to me in there was, obviously we have those things that are like the very specific sexual acts, but then there's this other which showed up a couple times at least, which was initiation.
Yeah.
And in a sexual relationship, like that can definitely be a thing too, right? Like just simply like it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's that you're not doing it in the first place,
Yeah.
right? Or you're not inviting it or starting it or that kind of thing. And if it's one-sided like that, that's definitely that's definitely a characteristic of a relationship that you hope you can talk about.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I think I agree 100% with what you said. I think relationships can get in trouble when you fall into roles and you get into that rut to where you initiate and I respond or whatever the case may be. I mean, I've been in multiple relationships where it seemed like I was always the aggressor and that was problematic. Then guys will always say, "Oh, I don't want to be with. I want to be with a hot woman that likes sex as much as I do." Then when you run into one, they scare the fuck out of you,
Right.
Because they're wanting to do stuff to you you've never thought about doing, which is exactly what you did to the last girl in the relationship
Exactly.
you were with. So, I think just falling into those roles can be problematic, in that that's a rut. Then there's expectations, Well, we haven't had sex in a week. Well, you haven't ever initiated. That kind of stuff. Anytime you start keeping score,
Yep.
it's a problem.
Yep. Yep.
So, any other comments prior to moving on? I think the overall thing here, if we're going to take it high level, is communicate, folks. If you've got
Yeah.
something you want done, if that relationship matters to you, talk to people about it. I mean, just not talk to people at your office.
or at least your partner.
Yeah. Do not talk to people at your office, because the last thing your partner wants to hear is, "Me and the girls at work were talking." Not about me. You shouldn't be.
Well, but
Unless it's that I sent you flowers and I'm just a wonderful person.
it's that kind of conversation. That's not age specific.
Oh no.
Nobody wants to hear that. I was talking with the boys on the football team about something. Nobody wants to hear that.
No.
So it's just flat out disrespectful.
And I'm going to give a little kudos to Root here. Now, I've known Root for a little over 2 years.
A little bit, yeah.
All right. And not one time have I ever heard him bitch or moan about his relationship, about his marriage.
And you never will.
And that is highly uncommon in today's world, when you know people that are in relationships, be it a dating relationship or a 30-year plus relationship. And working in state government, it's even 10 times worse, because everybody's always bitching and moaning about what their partner did or didn't do. And it's really, I think that's one of the reasons why that I respected Root from the beginning. I'm still now a little bit more concerned when I start knowing more stuff about him. But I mean, I think it's really cool, and you should be praised and congratulated for what, every relationship has issues, but you keep those issues in house.
Yeah, and we're not immune. I mean,
Well, she's married to you. There ain't no way she's immune.
right.
We're still thinking she may be captive. We've never seen her. There's been no sightings of her at Walmart or the Kroger's.
Oh, there have been.
No,
there
not
have
humans.
Yes,
You
yes.
make her go at like midnight.
No. Although that is usually when we go to the grocery.
Of course
But
it is.
It doesn't matter, man. We could go out to Walmart, that Kroger place, or any other place we go. Save-A-Lot's favorite. And every single time, somebody will strike up a conversation with her, and invariably, it comes.
Is it because she looked like she's been in a basement somewhere?
No.
They're trying to seek it.
Are they like passing her notes?
Do you need help? Are you here at your own free will?
Here, take my phone.
Right. No,
Wink twice for yes, once for no.
Invariably, it comes down to some issue, whatever, that this other person's having. And Angela will spend, she'll spend, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however long she thinks she needs to take, talking with people.
And that's why you don't let her out of the house. 'Cause
Mostly
that's more
because
time than
I
you
prefer to
what you
eat.
want to spend.
Yeah.
Okay, we get that. All right, moving on. Favorite position. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say that we should probably. I will read the list until the first long one happens, and then when you guys pick it up. How's it sound?
Of course, because it worked out so well last time.
What's your favorite position? Number 1, doggy. Number 2, doggy. Number 3, yes. Number 4, girl on top grinding. What are we on? 6, spooning. Next.
Let me bring the thing up here. Depends on the partner. Good Lord. He set me up again. Now I'm fighting my phone.
He's getting all jittery.
I told these boys I'm not used to reading this crap off my phone. Stand by. I think you skipped one, by the way.
I did not.
Yeah,
I
you
said
did.
spooning.
You skipped a couple.
You skipped. Well,
go back.
You skipped questions. Okay, so spooning was James.
I do like spooning, but that was not my response.
Here's the response that I am reading. Depends on the partner. Cock size, body shape, weight, and skill all change the enjoyment level in the same position with different people.
Missionary with her knees to her shoulders.
Prone bone.
Doggy style.
Doggy.
I like being on top or reverse cowgirl.
Legs over shoulders.
Missionary.
And now I'm having technical difficulties.
Sitting on top.
Oh,
we-
harmony. Missionary.
Reverse cowgirl. Blah. Anal.
No, we got to point out that's one thing. Reverse cowgirl anal.
Right. Yes, that is,
It's all
that is
in one.
one response.
It was
yes.
not a comma. There was no
No.
comma there.
No.
Doggy style.
Her on her back with her legs over my shoulders.
Well, we're right back to it. Reverse cowgirl with ass play. That's what it said.
Prone bone. Look it up on Reddit.
All right, I like that they give us a hyperlink.
A source. Right. Hey, at least it wasn't YouTube.
That's right. That's right. I'll be honest. When I went through these responses prior to our show, because I do show prep, I did not know what prone bone was.
I still don't.
I've been around this
I damn sure ain't looking it up.
this old rock several times.
Well, I'm looking up right now.
And what I have derived that it is the lady is on her stomach laying flat, and then the guy's over top of her from the back.
Okay.
That is prone bone. And evidently we have two folk that prefer that over. I think doggy is the overall winner from what I saw here. Regardless of how you spell it. Doggie, Dogggy. Doggy seems to be the overwhelming favorite. We got a couple missionaries. Does that surprise you guys?
Not entirely.
I mean, I think that's kind of growing up, missionary kind of got a bad rap, because that's what all the 3-pump chumps like to do was just crawl on, hit it, and leave it. So I think that in my mind kind of got a bad rap, but it looks like it's
If you're going to hit and run, doggy's the best option.
because you're already standing
You're
up.
already standing up.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
just a quick leapfrog and you're off and
I
running.
like the person that gave a lot of extras, depending on the partner, the size, the body shape, the weight, the skill level. I would agree with that. In my history, if depending on the size, the skill level of my partner, yeah, it would become more pleasurable different ways. It's not like I have a go-to one that always feels good with whatever partner I happen to be with. It just seems like it's very organic.
As it should be.
Yeah. So I was told that I missed some questions.
Yes, you did.
So
Why did I even mention it? I don't know, because I always seem to get the rough end of that.
you're right, I did.
We have
So
the fantasy one.
all right, so I will start with the next. Any other comments about positions?
Kama Sutra wins all day, every day.
Man, I pulled a couple muscles trying to do that shit. I ain't doing that no more. I mean, there's some ways I don't bend. I didn't bend before. I don't bend that way now. And I will tell you right now, boys, car sex is off. I am not ever doing car sex again. My big ass in a car, nobody needs to see it from the outside, and there's a really good chance there's going to be a seat belt inappropriately placed somewhere in me. I don't need it. I don't want it. Unless somebody's got a fucking minivan or a Ford Flex or something that has some clearance, I'm out. I'm out. What kind of car you drive, Root? Anyway, so describe a fantasy that given the right circumstances, you would do but have not. Root?
Of course, me. Gangbang.
And that's the first gangbang reference.
I'm actually surprised.
Yeah.
Orgy scenario like the one in the movie Eyes Wide Shut.
Sex in the dressing room at Kohl's. Oddly specific.
Very specific.
They have been eyeballing this dressing room at Kohl's. Now, I've not been to Kohl's in a while, but I'm going. I'm going to go.
He's
because
gonna be looking underneath, looking for the.
evidently, that
Sets
is a
of feet.
fine dressing room.
It's the new rest stop.
It's the new bathhouse at Jacobson Park.
God.
That's
Do you remember those horror stories?
I do.
Yeah.
Preachers. Goes
yeah.
back to the religious podcast.
Threesome.
Become a member of the Mile High Club.
Doing as soon as you walk in the door after a night out. Oh, that's hot. Here we go. Root, your turn.
So of course, what was the first one that I said? Let's just revisit it. No, with an extra. Gang bang double penetration with a group of men. Having men attend to multiple pets of my body at once.
Oh my God, there's animals involved now. I'm thinking that should be parts,
I think parts.
but it came out pets.
it
And
did. That's what it read. So yeah.
It's not a Google search.
No, no.
Light S&M.
3 guys at once.
I'd like to be picked up by a married couple and taken home for the night.
I've always had a rape fantasy.
We know, Alex. We know. Bondage seems like it would be fun.
No, it says really fun.
You miss words too, fucker. You want me to start?
Not nearly as many as you have. Nothing really comes to mind. I'm very creative and like to keep my relationship fresh.
Let me stop it right there. Nothing really comes to mind,
Except,
but I like to keep it creative. Well, evidently you don't. I mean, I appreciate you filling out the survey. There's going to be some of these that we're just going to poke fun at.
James loves tearing apart dichotomies.
This is one of those. Nothing really comes to mind, but I'm creative. No, you're not. If you are, you're not showing in this fucking survey. Alex, please continue.
Have sex with a complete stranger.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Granny, 60 plus. I don't know. Oh.
Dude, you're not that far. Come on now.
Oh, I know that, but to categorize it,
Yeah, yeah.
it's one thing to say, that lady is really pretty. Oh, look, she happens to be 61. It's not like I'm going, is she over 60? I'll bang her.
Is that a walker?
Yeah. Roll her on over here.
I don't know because I've done a lot. Ha 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 ha. Yes, that was part
I
of it.
don't know. Okay. I thought that meant black cock. They abbreviated the BC, and I thought, I don't know, black cock.
Well,
I've
you
done
know-
a lot.
It was my turn to read, so I had to read it twice.
Oh, here comes Alex.
All right. Consensual non-consent. Breaking into her home while she's getting ready for bed, sneaking up behind and knocking her out with a chloroform. Tie her up so I can burgle the place and then realize that I can do anything to her since she's unconscious.
That's just that right there is just like. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, that's really well written, and that's going to be safe.
I do like that it starts with consensual non-consent.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a story. This is role play. This is not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this person obviously is familiar with fantasies as opposed to reality.
Right.
And they put the word breaking in quotes. So breaking in.
Right.
So-
Right.
That's called covering bases, I think. But yeah.
Cabin, multiple rooms, multiple partners, just a free for all the weekend.
Hotel fuck room. No idea who's coming in. I'm just the attraction.
Oh,
Mother and daughter.
Okay. Yeah.
all right. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. I gotta go at one first.
All right, go ahead.
Mother, daughter. Yeah, okay. So
Remember, fantasy.
yeah, but grown folks, 40-something, 20-something, maybe. But man, that just
I don't
that,
know.
that punches the wrong button.
I don't know that. I don't know that we need to jump down the under 18 wormhole
Right,
here.
right, and-
I mean, at the age group that we focus on with our podcast,
That's fair.
You
I
know,
think you
you're-
would assume that that's not. And again, it's fantasy.
It is fantasy.
and also you're thinking 60-40, 50-30. I mean, there's a whole lot of different dynamics there than going down the wormhole of 30-15. So I don't know that we need to jump there
That-
all that quick.
That's fair, but
And,
it certainly
honestly,
did push that button.
On Pornhub, they did a statistical dynamic of which searches were most popular. Mother-son, father-daughter was the 2 most popular searches on Pornhub. And again, we're talking about a fantasy. We're not talking about a reality, something somebody wants to fall through on. And if
Right.
there's anything that's great about fantasy, is it's shit you never would do any other time.
Yeah.
Now, some of this stuff I think maybe the folks may want to do or may choose to do. I don't know. There's no way of figuring that out from this question.
But a couple of things that came up in here were different types of fantasy. As I was sitting here and thinking about my knee-jerk reaction to that,
His knee did jerk
the
a couple
last one.
times. I watched it.
yeah. But I mean, the whole consensual non-consent is one of the responses where I think that puts it great. I think there's something to be said there because it gets into some of these taboos, and
And that's what fantasies are really about, is
Yeah.
breaking that taboo. Because some people
experiencing the taboo.
will break taboos for real,
Yeah.
And then some people just want to have those taboos in their mind as something that is they live in a fantasy world.
And one of the there's a podcast I listen to that talks about this a lot. Actually, the fact that a lot of times our fantasies are the thing that actually most revolts us, right? Like on our actual, like, what would our judgment do? What would we stop ourselves from doing? What would we never even actually do or think to do seriously? Are still the things that turn us on, and in part because they're the thing that's so, like, so powerful to us, right?
Well, I'm trying to read a book. I'm not a big reader. I don't know if that may surprise y'all.
We could tell tonight.
But one of the book I'm trying to read is called Everybody Lies. And the premise is they actually take data, not just from, it kind of started, I'm not going to go into the wormhole in this, but they take data from all different types of sources to actually see how people actually think as opposed to how they portray themselves. I think one of the things that became prevalent a couple of years ago when they were talking about the number of hits on Pornhub per state, and the most popular state in the country was Utah, which is primarily Mormon in their faith. But they actually would take what the data was from these pornography searches, these Google searches, all that sort of thing, and they're like, people aren't at all what they portray themselves to be.
Right.
But then the misnomer there is, sure we are. That's a version of what we are. But if we're sitting behind a keyboard, all of a sudden we think we're anonymous, and we start looking for stuff that may just be curiosity, or it could be something we're really interested in. You don't know. Or maybe you follow a rabbit hole to some place. You're like, how the fuck did I get here?
Right.
I didn't mean to click on that. She was in my area. Honey, she was in my area. I thought maybe she needed a lift or something.
It's Tina from Jalalabad.
Yeah. So I think sometimes it's one of those things as adults, when you get to be our age, is it something left better to fantasy, or is it something that you would actually want to pursue given the right circumstances? And I think that's the hardest thing for people our age to determine is this something that I really, really, really would like to try, or is this something that, hey, you know what? This is something I'd rather just think about in my mind's eye during my private time.
All right, let's move on a little bit, boys.
Next question is simply condoms, and the categories is it's so cool how this Google, what is it, Google Forms? Is that
Google
what we're
Forms,
using here?
Yep.
Because when I started doing these surveys, I was looking at different sources that we utilize for these surveys. Looked at SurveyMonkey and all sorts of different ones, and a lot of them will say that they're free until. And then somebody somewhere said, hey, have you tried Google Forms? And I'm like, no. And it's wonderful.
Yeah,
This
pretty
actually,
sweet.
anytime we do a multiple choice question, it comes back as a pie chart.
And
So
pie charts for condoms. Come on, that's beautiful.
Isn't it cute when married people try to make sex jokes? But the four responses were required, depends on the partner, will use if asked, skin on skin is the only way I'm in. I came up with that one. I'll be honest with you. So, Alex, start reading the responses. For the required, what percentage of the people responded? And again, thanks everybody for responding. And we were just overwhelmed with how many people responded.
So how about we go from least to most?
That's fine with me.
So least is skin on skin is the only way I'm in.
That was less than, we know it's less than 12.5%.
Yeah.
So I'm, well under 10% probably for that response out of all the ones that responded. The second one is the blue one, which is required. And that is a 12.5% of the people that responded required condoms.
And next up is we'll use if asked, and that is 20.8%.
And the winner by far
Well,
depends on the partner, which is 62.5%, so more than half.
So let's unpack that one real quick. 62.5% of the respondents
are communicating with each other.
said that depends on the partner. Now, what do we think about that? Because in my mind, I can meet somebody, they're fine, they're pretty, they seem really, you have no fucking idea what they did Tuesday. That's the reality of it today.
Yeah.
Because what you'll never know is what anybody has ever done all the time.
There could be actual grease up in there or on there. You don't
You
know.
know, you don't know. I mean, and the fact that you found her pretty and sweet and kind, or you found him handsome and suave, and he's got a great job. Guess what? Other people have found him the exact same way.
And are now on meds for it.
Right. So depends on the partner. What is the litmus test? I wonder. I think that may be a follow-up question that we could do on the survey. What is the litmus test?
Well-
What determines whether you remove the condom?
Okay, yeah. So I may have been conflating these two options again. The depends on the partner and we'll use if asked. Depends on the partner when I first reads it.
Reads it?
Reads it. Yeah.
He's
yeah.
correcting my reading and my grammar, and he comes off with fucking reads it.
You're the one that referenced
Reads
Ernest T.
it.
Bass.
Oh,
But in my mind, they're both kind of the same thing. Or they should be.
well, no, I think the will if ask is I ain't going to use it unless you make me.
Yeah,
That's the will if ask, because
that's how I would take that.
they're going into this situation going, if I don't have to, I won't. But if they ask me to,
Sure.
I want to have sex, so I'll do it. So I think that's a gross difference between that and depends on the partner.
Yeah.
They're not making a judgment call necessarily. It's more somebody else is making a judgment call for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And-
And sometimes it may be that I'm requiring my partner to use a condom because I know my past. It may not be questioning their past. It may be it may be that I'm concerned with mine and what I'm bringing forward.
Or it could be everybody's concerned about their future.
Right. Yeah. So because when you get to be our age, when you're talking about 40 plus, I know when I lived out in Arizona, that had the highest between Arizona and Florida. It had the highest percentage of STDs of anywhere in the United States because of the seniors in those states. Because seniors no longer have to worry about procreation. They no longer have to worry about getting someone pregnant. So why the hell would they ever want to use a condom? Number one, most of these seniors never used them before. Because they grew up in an era that was not prevalent. They probably had a multi-decade relationship that they lost their partner, and now it is Calcutta, right there in the gated community in Scottsdale, Arizona, with the golf carts. Have golf cart, we'll fuck. And also they're probably thinking, I got a good 10 years left. I don't really give a shit if I contract something. I've already taken 12 pills every morning anyway.
Right.
13 ain't going to bother me.
That's right.
So,
And if it kills me, what a way to go.
right, exactly. I'm going to go with my wiener up. And now that we also have Viagra, now people are be able to have sex far later in life than they ever have before. Or not just Viagra, but any enhancement drugs.
Yeah.
So I think I'm kind of surprised at the 62.5%.
Well, and and audience, chime in and tell us how you read these answers too, because depends on the partner. I'm still thinking, kind of falls in with the will use if asked.
Yeah, you've been married 30 years.
But it could also go from the aspect of like going to use it until they reach a point in the relationship where they're okay with not. Right. And what it is that makes that judgment call as to whether or not they're okay
And
with
maybe
it.
that question should have been better defined on,
And
early on.
Who wrote this again?
The listeners. In fact, I'm lazy. I will cut and paste shit if I can. Because, I work in state government. There is no original thought. I can cut and paste it from someplace else. But maybe it should have been early on in a relationship, and not 5 years into a dating relationship.
Yeah.
So, but I do find that interesting. Depends on the partner.
Yeah.
Moving on. This is going to be fun. What is the most interesting place that you have ever had sex? Root?
You pick me. You pick me to start. You son of a bitch. The pew of a church? Really?
A park.
During a concert in my seat. Now, I don't know if that was in the butt or whether that was actually in their physical seat at the concert. Or could have been one and the same.
Yeah. Hot tub in an apartment complex. Didn't get caught.
I like the bragging nature. of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But, I mean, come on. Hot tub.
All right, let me say it. If you're in a hot tub, you're not the first person.
You're
to
not
have
the
sex
only
in
one
it.
who's been there.
A,
And you know, boiling that water, don't get rid of the shit. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
B, and C, and unless you were very vocal or thrashing about in the process, you're probably not going to get caught. Nobody's looking inside the damn tub. Who puts their head under the water in a tub?
There's ways you can tell without putting your head underneath the water.
There is.
Although
There
I am
is.
the guy that's going underneath the water in the hot tub, because I figure if I'm in the hot tub, fucking, I'm dipping.
With this answer, are you
not-
doing it anymore?
You know what?
At an apartment complex.
Yeah, well, there is no clean hot tubs.
Well,
I don't-
true.
Honestly, I won't go into the details. Please continue, Alex.
Cars.
Chapel. We have two.
Church.
We have two church references so far.
Okay, now this one strikes a little bit close to home. Stripping room. What is this? Now I know what it is.
A tobacco strip.
Where tobacco gets
That's what I'm
stripped.
thinking it is.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if that's what this
That-
respondent
it
meant.
is. It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, our main reach at this point is Kentucky, Arkansas, and then we have some outlying states. So we're mainly looking at southern
right.
listeners.
Tobacco growing states.
Yeah, and you know, everybody that's listening to this podcast knows what
what
a
a
fucking
stripping
stripping room is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a golf course.
That's pretty good right there. Swimming pool.
Dressing room at Victoria's Secret. There's a lot of shit going on in these dressing rooms.
That and Kohl's, evidently.
Kohl's.
I mean, Kohl's.
That's the more surprising one, I think.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's just like, it's like, all right, go. Please continue.
Resort pool.
Parked in a truck on a sunny day at the dead end of a neighborhood. That doesn't seem creepy at all.
In a parking garage. Not really that interesting.
I like how they judge themselves.
qualified.
As they're writing it, they're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be filling this out. But
In a driveway at dusk, and two pickup trucks pulled up close together, hood end, in the driveway, and he pulled up my dress and put me on the hood of the truck and ate me first. Oh, what a fabulous memory and the hottest sex I've ever had.
Okay, so clearly Karma and Slightly Uncomfortable just ran afoul because I should have read that one.
that's true. But it had nothing to do with anal or oral sex.
Well, that's
So,
true. That's true.
So I love the the specifics of this one. Is there more people in that driveway than just the two of them? Because they're saying that two pickup trucks pulled close together,
Hood end.
hood in. So is this an exhibitionist?
Maybe they just met there.
I don't
in
know.
two different trucks.
In a driveway.
Yeah.
That seems if you're going to have a couple of trucks going nose to nose and there's going to be some coitus, you're probably going to go out in the field somewhere.
And I'm not going to park it nose to nose.
Right. So, what a fabulous memory and the hottest sex I ever had. Love it.
Yeah, good stuff.
My turn now is freight train. All right, now, evidently we had a hobo fill this one out. I mean, how many people have ridden on a fucking freight train in 2019?
As a harmonica played gently in the background.
There's a bandana used. Riding the rails.
Yeah,
whole different meaning for that now.
On the lawn in a thunderstorm.
That's pretty fucking
That's-
hot.
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what. You won't see James get horny. Wait till it rains. I've been horny all the
I
last
don't
6
need to
months.
know that.
I have been horny.
Down here in the bunker.
Oh, you probably noticed it. Go ahead, Alex.
In the ocean in broad daylight.
Here's another one. I love this. Nothing spectacular. Oh my
I'm
goodness.
going to go back up here. The most interesting place you've had sex and nothing
Nothing spectacular.
Apparently somebody's filled this out twice because they moved from the stripping shed into the barn.
I tell you, barn sex is hot. I've lived on a farm a few times in my
It's
life.
dusty.
Now, straw gets everywhere. I will tell you this, though. I'd rather have barn sex than beach sex. Because sand gets everywhere that is wet
Yeah, and you don't want it there.
and sticky. Yeah. Alex, please continue.
In a Victoria's Secret changing room
Damn the changing
a few
rooms.
times, but my most interesting is in the middle of a new intersection that wasn't quite open. It's now an extremely busy place that I drive through often. Smiley face.
That's a whole lot. All right, again with the changing room. Now, I like to think I'm a very adventurous guy, and I've been around the block a few times. I have never in my life had sex in a dressing room. ever. Now I'm looking at Victoria's Secrets, Kohl's, hell, fuck Walmart. You know, because I know there's if I have sex at Walmart dressing room, there's probably worse things that's happened in that damn dressing room. So I'm not really. That's just all right. Evidently dressing rooms. I need to be checking those out a little more. Is it my turn? I think it is. In a sex club with people watching.
So that is the very definition of a professional. There was an audience.
And the fact that they went to that location. All right, that's not like you're at, I don't know,
Kohl's.
Applebee's. You know, you didn't happen on Applebee's and just start having it out in the booth. Right. You know, during happy hour where you got the two.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure it was happy hour. But yeah, that's all right. Root, please continue. I don't know how to say this word.
Bannockburn Field.
Where is fuck Bannockburn Field? Does anybody know where Bannockburn
I have
Field is?
no idea where that is.
All right, don't say you do, Root, because that means it's yours.
I do.
Nobody else knows where that is.
That's why I'm sitting here thinking either our statistics are off on who's listening where, or we're only getting responses back from people from those states.
What are you saying? I don't
Bannockburn
know
Field is a battlefield in Scotland.
Cool.
We have a reach that we didn't expect.
And I'm like,
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, think about that. If we have folks, honestly, guys, if you have traveled to Scotland and you're listening to this show, thank you. Because we never thought that the basement in Frankfort, Kentucky would ever reach out to world travelers.
and it's not exactly rural Scotland. I guess in some minds it may be, but wow.
And then the final one is just simply the ocean. And it seems
Are you on a boat?
It seems
Did you fall overboard?
anticlimactic at this point because we've had Scotland. There's a sex club with people watching. There's all sorts of dressing rooms.
Hot tubs.
Nothing spectacular.
Right.
Hoods of trucks.
Hoods of trucks.
In a intersection.
Intersections.
All right, so
Wow.
thoughts on this one, guys?
Some of these people are a bit more adventurous than me. And some of these people are giving me ideas, but I don't think I'm going to go to Bannockburn anytime soon.
I love
There's a
that.
number
I
of-
love that there's a couple for the in a church.
Yeah.
All right, there's a number of ways that Root's going to get in trouble, but if he brings these ideas home to his bride,
Oh,
he
dude.
may be short-lived for this podcast.
If
I thought maybe it was going to be I get to get out.
You mean you're taking me to an intersection? Is that where the cars go?
okay,
I have a confession. I'm going to tell you which one of these is mine.
It's not Bannockburn.
Well, I've traveled outside of coitus or whatever you call it. What is it?
Not Coit.
What's the continental?
Conus,
Conus.
whatever.
I have traveled outside of there. Mine was the very first response.
Pew of a church.
Pew of a church. By the time this podcast comes out, you will already have listened to my religious show. And I went to a Christian college. And I remember this girl came up to me. We had to go to chapel 2 days a week, and we had to attend Sunday service. Had to fill out a chapel card. So we were required to be there. If we didn't get there, it would affect our grades. So I'm sitting in chapel. I was a freshman. That means I just turned 17 because I got to college early. And not because I was smart, because they wanted to get rid of me in high school. But this girl sits down and tells me to hold out my left hand. And I did. And she put what seemed to be about 20 earrings in my hand. And then started putting the earrings in the various holes that she had in her ear. I looked at her, and I played ball my freshman year. And I knew she was a cheerleader. All right. I don't care where you go to school. Cheerleaders are hot if you're a ball player. And I would assume that if you're a cheerleader, ball players are hot. I don't know. I didn't feel hot with my mullet, my 165-pound frame,
He's grown a bit.
But she was a junior. I was a freshman. And then she decided to make me hers. and had me do all sorts of things that you don't talk about at parties. And one of those
Let alone in
was
chapel.
One of those was she got the key to our sanctuary, our chapel, and we went up in the balcony and we had at it. Now that was not my goal, but at that age, and honestly at this age, if a girl wants to have sex, I'm in. If you're at Victoria's Secret's dressing room, if you're in a hot tub,
Freight
at a
train?
freight train, I mean, kind of cool. There's already motion going on.
Yeah, and you never know where you're going to end up.
It saves me work. So that one is actually mine, and I was 17 years old, having church over a pew in a sanctuary. So yeah,
Wow.
that's confession time with James.
Yeah, you can fuck off. I'm not saying a
I'm
word.
not asking you all to do it. And the fact that I called the continental United States coitus,
Yeah.
is
Where's
both
your
concerning
head?
and
Where's
cool.
your head? Not
All
that
right,
one.
the next question is, we're just going to read these off because honestly, we don't even need to.
No. We can just range it.
How old were you when you lost your virginity? Now, it ranges anywhere from the age of 15 being the lowest
Nope.
to the age of 21 being the oldest. Nope.
13.
13's the.
Was there?
is the
I don't have a
youngest.
13
There's
on
a
mine.
13 in here.
Oh, I don't have that. Oh, I do see it now. My goodness. Whew. Yeah, I had not prepared myself for the 13. I'm going to tell you right now, 13's too fucking young to have coitus, and I'm glad it worked out for you. I'm hoping you're okay with it, and maybe I hope that was a great memory.
Yeah.
I would even say 15, maybe a little tad young, but we're not judging. We're not in the position of judging here.
No. We don't know how it all transpired, anything like that.
Right.
Not even suggesting that anything negative transpired.
Absolutely.
I will say that why wouldn't 13 be a natural age? Natural age. Modern era age appropriate? Maybe not, and by that standard. But I mean, all the juices are flowing on both counts. So
Now, I think probably a better question to ask would be, please describe your first experience. Was it, because I think in the times I've spoken to people, some people have very fond memories of their first time, and some people have very horrid memories of their first time. And maybe just even doing a pie chart, because they're wonderful. I love to look
Yeah.
at. They have a bunch of colors. But maybe was it good, bad, indifferent, or troubling, whatever the case may be. But I don't really know if I have a whole lot to say about between the ages of 21 and 13. Mine was on Halloween when I was 16 years of age with Barbara Collins from Florida. And my first time was my first 4 times. Thank God, because that first time, I ain't kidding you, it took me 5 seconds to get naked, and it lasted a total of 7. The fact that there was a 20-year-old girl when I was 16 that wanted to do things with me was all I needed. I could have stopped at any point during that moment.
and you were fine.
If she had stopped, she goes, "This is as far as we're going to go." I'm like, "Okay." And then I would call every friend I had, and I would walk in that high school the next day like fucking John Travolta on Saturday Night Live. My shirt was undone, like one button away from being topless. But then it proceeded. I'm like, "Oh, geez, fine experience." Yeah. So, any other comments about when you lost your virginity?
No, except I think the situation that puts you at that point at this age, whatever that age is a bit more interesting to me.
And I think that could be true for both the bottom and the top end
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry, what?
of those numbers.
Oh, okay.
yeah. You said bottom end, and James was like, "Wait, what? What?"
I'm sorry, I'm still at the church with
Oh,
you.
yes, of course you are. Yeah.
Lori. But moving on to the next question.
Which is, let me scroll down here because everything.
What's
okay,
the sexiest way in which someone has instigated or initiated sex with you?
So I'm gonna go off script here just a minute
There's a
because
script?
James needs an ice cube
Oh my god!
and it's in another room. So I'm gonna leave this one up to Alex and Root,
Of course.
and then I will come back and respond. So Alex, read that question again, and I will give it to y'all.
What's the sexiest way in which someone has instigated or initiated sex with you? So the first one is lots of foreplay.
Seductive photos.
They treated me like a human.
That is disturbing. I'm on my way over. Leave your door unlocked and be naked, spread eagle on the bed.
They bought me dinner.
Take my hand and lead me to the bedroom.
Telling me how to be ready for them before they arrived.
Apparently, that one and the other one needs to get together. Pull me into a broom closet at a wedding. James is back, by the way.
Grab me by the hair, rip off my panties, and bend me over.
We found James's.
You know, I'm sorry, but walking back into a room and hearing Alex say that while Root's sitting there is
He didn't know if it was for real or not.
extremely concerning.
Okay, so the next response after we were so rudely interrupted.
Sorry.
Yes. For me, a full body massage that turned into the hottest, most sensual sex.
Pushed me up against the wall, choking me ever so slightly while kissing me hard and running his hand over my breasts.
James, I think you need to read the next one since you can barely control yourself.
Randomly walking past me, pulling me into a more secluded area to kiss, touch, and discreetly touching me in private places while at the bar. Oh. Root, follow that one up, bitch.
In my driveway while saying goodnight.
Roadhead.
Right there, I'm just going to go and say, you pretty well know that's a dude. Roadhead. It's like Roadhouse. Naked with just my baseball hat on. All right, now, number one, if you call it a hat, that ain't a dude.
No.
Dudes call baseball caps. We don't call them hats. That's a lady. Root, go ahead.
Or maybe somebody from north of the Ohio.
Possibly. Maybe somebody from Arkansas.
Could be. That's
I know, but Arkansas folks are weird.
Okay.
I know we have some listeners from Arkansas. You're welcome. Enjoy wearing your baseball hats.
where did it go? I lost it.
That's what she
Nope,
said.
I'm on the wrong.
Woke me up straddling morning wood. Alex?
Putting on a show.
And I'm still.
Friends with benefits showed up at my house wearing classic English horseback riding getup, complete with riding crop. Let me just read that one again. Because that is extremely specific. And this is not a fantasy, folks. This is reality.
And it starts with a plural.
Yes, friends. Yes, not just one friend. Friends with benefits showed up at my house wearing a classic English horseback riding getup, complete with riding crop. And there was a heart with a smiley face.
I think this may go with the at a sex show.
I am
I don't know.
I am liking these
But
people.
I'm seeing some continuity here.
We got some interesting people listening to this show, boys.
Are you ready to go, Root? Or
Doesn't matter. It don't matter.
Touching while sneaking in public.
all right? May I please read this one?
Go for it.
On the bus to class, summertime. My dress, his shorts, was fun. Now that's the end of it. Thoughts?
Oh boy.
Now, I think what we need to be reminded of is what the question was.
Right.
What's the sexiest way that somebody has instigated sex with you? And it seems to be we have jumped the shark a little bit on this. While I think that putting on a show is a great way, touching while sneaking in public, fantastic. Roadhead, although awesome, I don't know that it's a precursor to sex. That is kind of sex.
But it had to have been initiated by someone. I think that's the thing that they're looking at there is that, like, it's kind of hard to initiate when you're driving.
As far as you know.
And
Well, maybe it isn't. Sounds like I need to do some exploring here.
there's all kinds of ways to instigate that as well. So it's just interesting.
Woke me up straddling morning wood. Yes, Jesus. Naked. All right. Again, the question was What's the sexiest way someone has instigated sex with you? Naked with just my baseball hat on. All right, let me tell you what, ladies or gentlemen. If you show up to an event, a moment, breakfast, whatever the case may be, and you are naked with a baseball hat on, you initiated sex.
It's Saturday at my
Yeah.
house.
What's the next question? Because I can't sleep at night now.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Yeah, we're going to have to move forward from that because that's made me not just slightly uncomfortable, but weed the fuck out. Is what
Good,
that's made me,
good,
is weed the
good,
fuck out.
good.
All right, next question. How do men/women prefer their partner to be groomed down there? This is another pie chart, pardon the pun. Root, start off with the least.
Au natural, which is, what's that, 80?
It's so few that
It's-
there's no percentage given.
Yeah, but you can do the math.
Right. No,
But
I
it's
can't.
less than, it's at least, it's no more than 4%.
Right.
All right. Alex?
So Little Bush for the push at 8.3%.
I wrote that one.
You like your rhymes.
I
Apparently.
do, a little bit. I mean, shaved and smooth at 41.7%.
And neatly trimmed, coming in first by a slim margin, 45.8%.
So the clear winner here is some grooming, one way or the other.
Landscaping is important.
Thoughts, gentlemen?
I think James is troubled by this.
No, I don't want to give. It seems like it's confession time with James, and I don't really want
It's
to.
only confession time if you choose to.
But I want to. I want to.
Yeah, of
bare
course
my
you
soul.
do. Then just don't bear nothing else.
I'll be honest. I chose a little bush for the push because I have had. All right, we all grew up, at least Root and I did, when the first bush we ever saw looked like a chia pet. I mean, it did. It was. I remember the first porno I watched that was in my that was a VHS tape that my dad had. May have been a Betamax tape. It may have preceded that. But my friends at school asked me. They said, "You watch porn?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's awesome." What did it look like? I'm like, just a lot of really dark hair. I mean, I couldn't really even tell you if there had been a vagina put out in front of me in a lineup. I would not have chosen it versus the chia pet from TV. I mean, you really couldn't see a lot. So we've evolved from that time to the time in the 80s, especially, and probably late or mid 90s, that it was just all bare. And now I think we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence of there's a little bit of hair. It's okay.
Right.
So with me, I like a little hair because there is nothing I hate worse than a 5 o'clock shadow. I've dated some German women. Oh, that shit down there will leave a mark. All right. So I really like the little bit more. It doesn't need to be a woolly mammoth. I don't want to go back to what I saw in the 70s on my dad's Betamax. But I really do enjoy a little bit of. But plus, it also the female figure is just so enchanting that it kind of directs your attention down there. That's just me, and y'all can follow up any way you want to. We just go to the next question because y'all are pussies.
Yeah, I got.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of, recognizing the nature of what's there in the first place.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
and I've actually had some ladies tell me now, and I would love to hear. This is one of those times we've had several people suggest that we need a female voice on the show, and I will tell you this right now in front of God and everybody. There has never been a group of guys sitting around having some drinks and talking about the world's problems that never thought, you know what we can need is a woman. There has never been a group of guys that ever thought, man, I wish a lady was here. Nothing against you ladies. We love y'all. But when we have our time in the bunker, we'd like to have our time in the bunker. Now, this would be a good chance, though, if we had a lady sitting in the fourth chair to give their opinion on what they thought about men grooming, manscaping, if you will.
I got 3 things on that.
Oh, God, he's got a list.
I've got a list. Number 1, there is no way in hell I can be in this room with a female on the other side of this table talking about how she grooms herself.
Honestly,
Shit ain't happening.
honestly, Root has a hard enough problem with Alex being in the room.
Exactly. That shit
And now I really want to see that.
Because he's still sweating.
No. It's not because of my own visceral reaction,
Oh, I
of
think it
which
is.
there would have been one. But no. That, I mean,
All right, so my girlfriend lended to that question, and I said, people have mentioned about a girl
I gotta
being
get
in the
another
room, and she said I'd be fine with it if she was a lesbian, and I'm like, really? And she goes, well, maybe not, but if it kept going on, she would need to be a lesbian.
and
And I really appreciate that.
yeah, man.
She would need to be. So I don't know how we could quantify that without her going.
Need to know that there's nothing you can do for her.
That it's at some point, homie's got to go home. and I am not putting myself in that shithole, man. That ain't happening. Now,
But it would be interesting to hear a lady's perspective
Yep.
on that.
And to your earlier rant, leading up to that point, I've always valued the feminine response to some of these.
But he
topics.
just can't be in a room with them.
Call me Mike Spence Jr. I guess. I don't know. And
I will
you know,
never ever call you that.
I can't.
If his name's not Mike Spence.
Mike Pence.
Mike Pence. You
I
said
said
Mike Spence.
Spence?
You said Spence.
Who is that?
Spence? No, Mike Pence is our
I'm thinking Jerry Spence. My bad.
the guy from around the corner. But he digresses.
He's actually a defense attorney.
But it would be really because, all right, I had a friend of mine that recently got divorced after 24 years of marriage. He was devout. He never strayed, nothing like that. So he had no idea of what relationships looked like in the last 30 years because he was involved with this lady prior to his marriage. And I know this guy really well. We've been friends for 35 years. So I also played ball with him. So I understand him from a locker room on. And he goes, James, what do I need to do? I said, first of all, get rid of those tighty whities. Those ain't nobody wearing no BVDs anymore. I mean, the tighty whities ain't working anymore. It worked when you were in a multiple decade relationship, good on you. But nowadays, ain't doing that. So I helped him out there. And then I'm like, I haven't seen it. I'm only assuming that you have a woolly mammoth down there, and you got to trim that shit. And he goes, I don't know about all that. And I said, let me tell you what, if you trim the shrub, the tree looks taller. And the next question out of his mouth was, where do I get them trimmers?
oh my goodness.
Any other comments about grooming?
After that, nope. I am done.
I will tell you this right now. I would rather have a lady that is. Here's the thing for I think for men and women both. If you keep that shit clean, it doesn't matter how it's groomed. If it's not clean, it doesn't matter how it's groomed.
That's right.
Take care of yourself. Otherwise, we don't care what you do with the razor or trimmers.
Right.
Because I've been down there at a time it doesn't pass the finger test. And if you don't know what the finger test is, let me tell you what it is right now. I'm going to give you a really quick.
God, here we go.
I've been around this a while. You hug them, and you reach down there and just take a little bit of a dip in the finger, and then you wrap that hand around the shoulder to give yourself a finger test. If it doesn't pass the finger test, your nose don't go down there. It's a thing. I perfected it. And they don't even know, but now they all know.
Now you're fucked yourself.
I'm like a magician that
That
just
just-
gave away a secret. Although, darling,
Except for that may be in a secret that helps. Because,
or not a secret at all.
again, pay attention.
if you've been out dancing in blue jeans all night, ladies, clean that shit up. I'm just saying. Anyway, all right. So, oh God, I've digressed.
Yeah, you're in trouble. See, that's why I shut the fuck up. I
No,
just-
no. What is the longest? Yeah, I'm going to tell you this question right here. Although it was something that the listeners wanted to ask, I found it to be sad. What is the longest stretch you've ever had without sex? And I'm going to go down this list because there's really no. I don't think there's any paragraphs or any really interesting answers, but it just gives you an overall view. What's the longest you've ever had without sex? About a month, 6 months, 1 year, never again. Listen to this one, guys. 18 years. Ha ha. No, just really 6 months. I don't know why they have to jerk our chain. 2 years, 6 months, 5 months, somewhere between 6 months and a year, 3 years, 9 months. I'm thinking that person was pregnant. Probably a year or more, about 6 months. I like this one. 1.5 years. That is extremely specific. Alex, read this next one if you would.
If we're talking actual sex, then a long time because my husband was very sick. But I pleasure myself with a vibrator, but it definitely is not the same without someone touching and caressing your skin.
All right, so I'm going to put a caveat there, okay? We're going to come back to that. I think it's an important discussion. 16 months, 3 months, 16 years. 2 years, almost 2 years. Maybe they dated each other. You know, maybe those two people dated each other. 30 days, 1 year, 2 years, 21 years. Oh, you mean after virginity, 2 months. All right, that person right there is smartass.
Yeah.
That person's smartass. We appreciate you doing our survey, but you're a smartass.
And welcome aboard.
Yeah. Any thoughts from you guys before I go into my little bit of a rant?
Not nary.
Alex?
Nope, go for it.
All right. I think this begs the question, is what is sex? Now, it goes back to Bill Clinton time.
Oh, God.
And it's like, what constitutes sex? And one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had was with the girl I was dating at the time that the Bill Clinton hearings, impeachment hearings were going on. And he goes, I never had sex with that woman. And I'm a big Democrat. I'm a liberal. I love Bill Clinton. I know he had his issues. We're not going to make this political. But he had sex with Monica Lewinsky. And in my mind, that's what I always thought. And the lady I was dating, she said, no, he didn't. She just blew him. So, all right, I'm going to put it out to the panel here. What do you think is sex? Because that's what we're saying. What's the longest stretch you've ever had without sex? What is sex by your definition?
Well, I'll give you my honest definition.
No, I want you to lie. Lie
Okay.
to me, bitch.
I'm going to give you the
Honestly.
what I think, and then I'm going to tell you what the real answer is. Okay?
He is actually
Anytime.
He is actually debating with
He's
himself.
lawyering up.
No. Anytime people hit any of those erogenous zones, if that leads to orgasm, that's sex. Even if it doesn't lead to orgasm, it's still pretty much sex. We're not talking about nibbling behind the ear. Right?
Why is that?
What if that gets you off?
Right.
Then it's sex.
I like to be ear holed.
Then it's sex.
Thank you.
But now, as a married dude or as somebody in a relationship, it's whatever they say it is.
Okay.
Because that's what gets you in trouble.
So I say it's whatever you say it is.
Which-
No, I mean really.
I
Like,
love when Alex gets ornery. I do.
no, I mean like if you
Sit the fence or die, Alex. Sit the fence or die.
I don't know. I've seen this argument go back and forth, and like people like get frustrated because their definition doesn't match your definition. Well, that tells you exactly what you need to know, right?
Right.
It's your definition.
Yeah.
So, what is sex? Maybe it's oral. Maybe it's actual penetration. Maybe it's somebody, nibbling behind your ear because it gets you off.
Yeah.
But if that's what sex is to you, that's what it is. If it's not, then it's not.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of agree with both you guys. I think it's a really difficult subject to breach. But in my mind's eye is, growing up when I was a kid, women were taught that just say no.
Some.
Keep your legs closed. That's what good girls do, right? So guys developed a workaround for that.
Anal?
Oh, well, if you do this, it's not sex. And then the girl goes, oh, so if I do this, I'm still a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl.
I don't see it that
No,
cut
no,
and
no,
dried
no.
at all.
All right,
This is a real thing.
this is the world I lived in.
Well, it's a world I lived in too. I called bullshit on it then. I'm calling bullshit on it now.
I got laid. You didn't.
Oh, son, I've just shut up today.
But I was amazed that a girl looked at me and she goes, "So if I use my hand on you, it's not sex?" Nope. No, you're good. You're still good. God loves you. Your mom and daddy loves you. Let's just get this thing over with. And then the next time I'm like, if you used your mouth, that's not what sex really is. I mean, you're not even used. I think that ladies were sold a bill of goods, and it made them feel better about themselves, and we got what we wanted. I think it was a sales job.
And it's always been that way.
Yeah, it
had
has.
nothing to do with the 70s or the 60s.
But this was when I was in my 20s that a very intelligent, articulate, well-read person that I was dating, a girl I was dating, she said, "Well, it's not sex." I'm like, "Oh my God, darling, it is. It's been sex all along. Whether it's with your feet, your ear hole, your mouth, your hands, whatever the case may be. In my mind, an assisted orgasm is sex. If you've used someone else."
So this is why my church defined it as not even to that level. Did you think about it? Yeah, you had sex.
Well, and you know what? That's pretty much all churches.
That-
If you've thought about it, it's the same as doing it. That's what Scripture tells you. Is if you've thought about it, it's the same as doing it. If you thought about adultery, you're guilty of adultery.
Yeah, all right.
All right. So that's if you're going back to Scripture, that's what it means. But in my mind's eye is if you've used someone else's input for an orgasm, that's sex. Whether it's phone sex, cyber sex,
Porn?
porn. Well, I don't know about porn because they're not a willing participant. They put themselves out there and you've used it.
Did there have to be orgasm?
With me, there is. Because if not, that's a Tuesday. That's breakfast.
Nope.
So dissatisfaction is a Tuesday.
That was a really, really odd response to that
Well,
statement, guys.
I just never want to have breakfast with you now. Ever.
That biscuit you get at 5-star
No,
means
no.
a lot more to me than it does
Oh
to
my
you.
God.
But in my mind, I think the definition of sex, all right, this is what I'm going to drill it down to, is guys, I'm talking about high school, 20-plus-year-old guys. They will claim that sex is anything because then they have a notch in their belt saying, "I had sex with her." Women will minimize that to where, all right, it's the most finite definition to still remain who they hope that they are.
So I think that question will also become interesting when we talk about what's your number.
Oh yeah,
What's
I think you're right. I think in
is that in here?
can we table it now?
Yep.
I think that's
Let's-
a great
let's come
idea.
back on
let's,
that one.
Let's table it and move on.
What number?
All right, no, we'll get there. Root. God, he's like, what, I was told there would be numbers.
No, there's a math quiz.
Math.
The fuck
Goes
is
back
this?
into the office space rhetoric. But
Are there
I was-
also dates?
I was told there would be numbers and dates because I like history.
Don't forget my red swing line stapler, you fuck. I'll burn this motherfucker down.
I was told that I would be able to listen to the radio at a reasonable volume. Next question.
Milton's my hero.
I
but go
love
ahead.
Milton. Are you secretly bi or bi-curious or had the same-sex
skipped one.
fantasy? What?
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
What?
We have another survey when
Jesus
to come
Christ.
back to, but it's fine. Let's do the bio one.
Are you secretly bi-curious, or had a same-sex fantasy? Should I read through these?
Yeah, let's just
All right.
through 'em.
Oh God, I lost my place.
Well, it's easy. The first four are the same. So.
Nope,
Nope.
and nope.
And,
Yes.
Then we get a yes.
And then openly bi with sexual partners. I find that interesting.
That's
No, hell no. I'm bisexual, parentheses female. It's no secret that I am bi. Not so secretly bi. I've had sexual encounters with women, but I've never gone down on a woman. Still kind of hesitant. we're going to put a pin in this one. Go back to that. Next one is bi. I thought about it after my husband passed away, but it was short-lived. I didn't act on it because I know I just like dick. I
All
love how-
caps, all quotes.
I know. I love how it started off really tender, and we're like, oh, and they're like, I like cock. That's not a drop for the show either, Root.
I think it will be.
Bi curious?
I'm the editor.
Nope. I like this response. Nope. No judgment, but I am as straight as can be. No, no, and again, no. And the last one's what secret?
What secret?
All right. So thoughts, boys.
I have zero thoughts on that.
I have no.
I mean,
my brain activity is minimal.
No, I don't care how you fuck, who you fuck, or where the fuck. So long as I don't have to watch.
Or sometimes you want to.
Honey, I'll be home shortly.
Alex, what's your thoughts?
I think this is one of those, so, if you go by the Kinsey idea that it's all a spectrum, you're going to have a good number of some people at one end of no, some people totally yes, some people somewhere in between. And that's what we see.
So here's the one I put the pin in. Not secretly bi, I have had sexual encounters with women, but have never gone down on a woman. Now, let's bring this around again. The premise of our podcast is three guys sitting around having bourbon and talking about shit. If in this dynamic that we were sitting around having bourbon on the deck, maybe having a cigar, doing dude things, and all of a sudden I went, guys, that one time I sucked dick. Everybody, I don't care what group of 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys, everybody'd go, what was that?
No, some of us would say later.
No, and because, and I think this is the odd thing is this person says I've had several sexual encounters with women, but I've never gone down on them. All right, if I were in a group of guys and I went, you know what, I love women, but a guy can suck a good dick. Most guys are going to go, you're bi, or
You're gay.
Whatever.
Or you're something.
I think we talk about double standards all the time, and I'm not ever trying to be a proponent of this. None of these were. I think I did the no, hell no answer, but we are totally available for ladies to have experimented, and we don't put a label on that, right?
Right.
Because in our mind's eye, we're like, they're kinky,
Or
they won't have sex with me if I do that.
Is it?
Or
but
maybe it's their
label
own
is-
thing.
That label's still bi, right?
But it's not. It doesn't have a negative connotation. But I think if you're talking about male gender, I think it does have a negative.
if you're
connotation.
assuming negative, I think from you might run into bisexual women who, and this may I think that's exactly what we're seeing here, right? That a bisexual woman is expressing the like, well, I've experienced these sides of it, but not these other sides of it.
But the fact
right?
that it's distinguished, I think they're saying that. Well, I'm not really bi.
Well, and maybe they're questioning
No,
that. And
no. That's not what I take from that at all. They preface the comment with "not so secretly bi," but then they go on to graduate their experience there because they're kind of hesitant.
Are they hesitant about what?
Going down
Being
on a woman.
labeled,
Going down on a woman.
or
No, going
No,
down
just-
on a woman. It's
just
clear.
that particular aspect
Just
or
that
element
particular
of
act.
that experience or act.
Yeah,
But I think
don't read any
I think it
judgment
fits
there.
in with that spectrum thing. But again, that is that thing of our linguistic. We're applying like a linguistic and logical kind of dichotomy to something
Right.
that is not a dichotomy. It's a spectrum.
Yeah,
You could be mostly one way or mostly another way and not be entirely.
Yeah,
And while generally that might fall under the category of bi, it may not mean that you're most of the time going to do one thing or the other.
fair enough. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I don't see any judgment whatsoever in this, whether self-imposed or otherwise.
Agreed. There is no judgment, but I think it's just a society welcomes one gender to open up about that, but not the other.
I think it does. I think it does more and more
That's
these
that, I
days.
think you're right. I would agree with you.
There is a stigma. It's not as bad as it used to be, but there is still a stigma.
There,
All right,
I guarantee you, there's a difference, like on regular TV, on how they would give the rating
Yes.
to two guys kissing as opposed to two girls
absolutely.
kissing.
You go
Well,
back to the Friends episode, all the Friends series, and there was an openly girl-on-girl relationship going on, and there was no pushback on that at all. But yet, Will and Grace has to really toe that line on what they allow to be seen on television, even in 2019.
I'm not making my assessment of this question based on
No,
what the
I
media
think
is trying to force down
it's
my
an interesting
throat.
conversation.
Yeah,
Well-
this is not necessarily. We're kind of straying from the specifics of the question,
we are.
but
My experience with folks who have crossed all of these spectrums,
That one time
You know,
he was in the room
gay or bi or
with
whatever.
that feller.
But I mean, the way that the community around us is where it shows, or wherever we were. I didn't see this kind of judgment, or what was the word you used? The stigma
Yeah.
attached to what my friends were doing.
Well, and I think that if you hang out with the right people, this is not an issue.
Right.
But I'm talking about an overall perspective.
Yeah. Well,
All
people
right,
are stupid.
And let me tell you, and I'm going to bring this a little bit more closer to home, and then we'll go on to the next topic. There is and I was going to mention this one. I didn't know how I was going to bring it in. Now I brought it in. There is a new
Like a wrecking ball.
There
Of
is
course.
a new documentary on Netflix that is now the new.
You mean Netflix hasn't canceled it yet?
They have not.
Disney's canceling everything. You know.
This is a documentary, and it's called Abducted in Plain Sight.
Wow.
And if you have not seen this documentary, turn this podcast off right now and wait 20 minutes. Or just fast forward 20 minutes because I'm going to do a spoiler alert. So the new memes floating around the internet. All right, this was a very, very, very detailed and troubling story about a young girl that was abducted at 12 years old by a family friend. And there is a whole lot of stuff that has went on, and I'm not going to ruin all of that. But what the memes are that are coming out now on social media is about the father of this girl that had engaged in a homosexual moment with the abductor. That later on that abductor used to almost, absolutely to make sure that this guy never outed him.
to blackmail.
Yeah, blackmail him.
Was this the Elizabeth Smart story?
No.
Okay.
It was no one you've ever heard of.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it fascinating. But this was a very small caveat in this very large situation to where a 12-year-old girl was abducted twice by the same guy. But the abductor had a brief homosexual encounter with her father. Yet that is what, again, a lot of shit to unpack from this documentary.
Right.
It's troubling. It's well worth watching. I would recommend it. However, that's what everybody's takeaway is that the father had a brief homosexual encounter, and that's all the memes, that's all the fun that everybody's poking at
It's
him.
because people are garbage.
Yeah, but I think that still shows that we're in an environment that is something that is up for ridicule. If it were the mother and a woman, nobody'd say anything.
All right.
So I think
I take your point.
there's a double standard there that still is perpetuated even in the most liberal of societies.
Well, and were the mother and a woman the same force and ability to use it for some sort of a blackmail would probably not be there.
In this documentary, that man who abducted the 12-year-old also had an affair with the mother. So he was literally fucking the mother and the father. So they would never, ever turn him in because they were scared of what they would look like in society. because he was going to out them.
Two spineless sons of bitches.
Exactly. Just watch the documentary. Because
I'm afraid to.
it's
Now I'll be
such
throwing
a
shit.
visceral reaction that people are having to this. But I think that shows the stigma. All right, yeah. If a woman, if two people are committing adultery, that's a stigma that's well founded. But if it's bisexual men, it seems like it's more heinous. Still,
It's
in
still
today,
adultery.
It is, but they're not talking about the adultery. They're talking about two dudes doing something together.
This-
and that's the stigma that still stands to 2019.
You wonder why I don't go out much? That bullshit.
Well, there's several reasons.
That's
All right,
chief of it. People are assholes.
we should move on.
And speaking of assholes,
Oh, he just did it. And he went there.
We got the
or
next
maybe
topic.
he didn't. We don't know how he answered. I don't know.
We don't know. So we have a pie chart. I love pie charts. I am really falling in love with these pie charts. In the future surveys, there's going to be a lot of multiple choice questions.
He just loves the colors.
I do, and also in this one, they could put in their own responses. If it wasn't something that we put in, they could put in their own. So the simple question is this: anal? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? So the lowest response, we have a 3-way tie.
In colors that I can barely read.
I'm colorblind, so
let's just go through those 3-way ties real quick.
please, Alex,
So
you can see
it
color.
is-
Go ahead.
So it is. If she lets me play in hers, then she and I can't read the rest. Of
what?
It doesn't show. No, on mine it's not showing. But the other
No,
two.
no. In mine it says if she lets me play in hers, then she can play in mine. Respectfully. Parentheses.
All right. The other two are I've tried it and honestly it hurt. Again,
Wait.
I can't see the rest of
All
that
right,
one.
let me just read these.
Go for it.
I have tried it, and honestly, it hurt so badly. For many days after it, my butt. And then
That's not the end.
no, I'm pretty sure it's not. But then lastly, I'll do it from time to time, but it's not my fave. Now, those all tied for less than 8%. Fair?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then at 8.3%, it was, I can't read the colors, guys. I'm
It's
colorblind.
hell no. That's the hell no.
That's the hell no?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Again, folks, we're talking about anal. And then after the hell no was root?
Maybe.
No, root, maybe.
And well, depends on the partner.
Was that your response or just in general?
No, that was the answer.
Oh,
So the 25% is a maybe. However, we did have a 12.5 of depends on the partner.
Oh, that's true.
oh, God, we go back to the condom discussion. Depends on the partner.
Well,
Now,
but again, how does that comment read
What
in the
is it
minds
that
of the
what is it
respondent?
that it depends on? What's the
Right,
timing?
what's the
all that kind of
anytime
thing.
you say the word depends, there's a whole lot of
You're thinking
things.
diapers.
Yeah. No,
But
I'm
no.
not. No, I'm not. You're older than me.
Oh, what, 3
but
weeks?
but here's the kicker is that the largest one, the largest percentage at 41.7 is saddle up.
Out of all the responses that we've had, it is the vast majority, 41.7% said, saddle up.
Yeah.
That was like a Sam Elliott response. Saddle up.
You know, can't you just see saying?
I
Just,
can't.
yeah,
I don't want to see him saddling up.
No, I don't want to see that either.
The mustache gets
That
in the way of
mustache-
shit. Yeah. His head tilts to the left.
That
we don't
collects
know why.
way too many things.
I just hope his mustache doesn't get in the way of the shit because
Of the shit?
I really hope it
at that
does.
point-
I really hope it does.
That's the shit filter.
But if you're at that point, things have already gone horribly wrong.
Oh, Jesus. So, what are we going to unpack from this? That's what she said.
Yeah,
The fact that Alex could not speak, I had to throw it in
he's
there
hung up now.
because the scarf was like choking him out.
Yeah.
All right, a couple things I'm going to take away from this. And granted, the 41.7% said saddle up. But I want to go on with if she lets me play with hers, then she can play with mine respectfully. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that
That's a quid pro quo.
That better cut both ways.
Well,
There
I think
should
that's
be
what
cutting.
exactly what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quid pro
Yeah.
quo.
Yeah.
You let me do it, I'll let you do it.
Was that an added?
It was
answer?
not. It was an add-on. I did not.
And which means that even once it got added, it still had quite a few
Yeah.
people respond to it. So
Yeah.
I mean, we had a pretty good response there with that.
right.
One.
I think what we're seeing with anal is it's all over the place, right? And and this was a rather broad question. We didn't say
You might say it was open ended.
or performing or receiving, right? It was just simply anal. And I've known from friends, and I'm talking about other guys I've known, deal breaker. If a girl don't, they won't.
Wow.
I've known that. And there are other folks that are like, oh, I don't feel. I think sometimes this is one of those things that had now become a birthday thing or a special occasion thing. And, you know, for my personal relationships, I don't want a birthday thing. I don't want a special occasion thing. Either you want to do it or you don't. Doesn't have to be all the time. Nothing has to be all the time. I don't need to hold your hand all the time. It's a matter of if it feels right between the two of us, let's try it. If it doesn't, let's not. There's no pressure. And I hope that's the way relationships look like as you get older. There's no agenda. There's no litmus test. There's no checklist of, well, you haven't went down on me in 3 days. Is there something going on? No, I'm just really tired and I want to get a nut. I mean, you know, I don't know what that is. But other thoughts?
And yeah, I'm repulsed by the notion of a sexual act, any particular sexual act being a deal breaker.
All right.
That's
How about
anathema
sex?
to me.
Deal breaker.
Anathema to me.
Not happening. Deal breaker.
Does it depend on the deal?
No. So my point. Let's say
Right.
you have a relationship. There is no sex in this relationship. Is that a deal breaker? Is that okay for it to be a deal
Or does
breaker?
it depend on the deal?
No, it depends on, well, define deal.
No,
the
what I'm saying is
relationship.
it depends on the relationship.
It depends on that relationship.
If you've had a 30-year relationship,
It could
20,
be
20 year,
It could be a 2-week
Right.
relationship.
and you're like, I'm all in. And that person says, for whatever reason, I can't, I won't, it's not going to happen. Then you're vested.
Well,
But it could be a 30-year relationship that has had issues and whatever thing, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. And you're like, I'm out. So I think it's really dependent on the deal. If you're saying it's a deal breaker, what's the deal?
in my mind, it's always the value of that relationship. Always the value of that relationship.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, any of these things, this is a relationship. You're talking about two or more people doing something together, right?
Alex, 2 or more.
Well, I mean,
in that voice that he has.
it's come up. It's come up.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Don't turn the bar over.
Yeah, it did. It came up a couple times.
Oh, I don't. I just keep it over there on your side of the table. But yeah, maybe I'm the Puritan of the crew, and it's
The
beginning to
fact that
sound
we
like I
talked
am.
about coming up and he's like,
Dude, I do that when I talk about the fucking weather
and he scratched himself.
because I had an itch.
So moving on.
From anal.
Yeah, from anal, which I had stories, but I'm not going to tell
Yeah,
you.
let's not.
How many sexual partners have you had? The lowest number is, all right, this is crazy. The lowest number is 15 to 20. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, you are.
The second to the lowest number is 10 to 15 at 12.5%. 25% is 1 to 10. And an overwhelming 54.2% is 20 sexual partners or more. Thoughts?
Not a one.
Root's over. I'm out.
No,
I'm over to get the ice cube. I'm gonna let the dog out.
I just,
I mean, the one great thing about this is totally anonymous, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and we don't know the genders of these two.
Not at all.
And I think there are certain assumptions that would be made either way with either of those things.
Agreed.
sadly, yes.
Agreed. Yes.
So it's good in a lot of ways because it
And
I think
also
it
look at our
points
focus.
out-
Look at our focus group.
Yeah.
It is who's listening to us.
Right.
And from what I've heard,
What a horny motherfucker.
oh my God, it is 65 and under is what I've heard. And thank you for listening.
Yes.
And thank you for being honest in the survey. But 20 or more by most people's standard is a lot.
Well, I mean,
Is it?
Well, I'm just saying.
20 or more last weekend's
I
probably a lot.
looked at, no, before I did the survey, because that was a question that a listener had proposed. How many sexual partners have you had? I didn't want anybody to list a number because to me, that is the most asinine question that you can ask in a relationship or a new relationship.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Right.
51 years old. If I'm seeing a new girl and they're like, so how many women have you been with? Then we go back to the question that Alex brought and pinned earlier. What do you mean by been with? What do you mean by sex? Is it hand, ear, mouth, nose, whatever?
Well, and that's where that question turns into a and what's your real number?
Because
What is-
everybody's going to
what's
lie
the,
to
what's
this.
the number of the ones that you said, oh, that didn't count?
Right. Everyone's going. All right, and let me tell you, folks, if you're dating right now, and that is a question you ask, stop. That there is no right answer to that question
For anybody.
And
for anyone.
And it's none of your damn business.
All right, right. That's it. You know what Root said is dead on. It is none of your fucking business what I have done before I met you. Now, have I committed a felony? That's a legitimate question, right? If I have beat somebody, if I've robbed, if I have victimized folks, that's a legitimate question. But if you're talking about sex, consensual sex, it's none of your damn business.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I was so damn reluctant about this.
But
it's nobody's damn business.
Right. But I am 51 years old. If I meet a girl, darling, 6-month anniversary, thank you for sticking with me this long. But if you weren't around, I'm gonna talk like she wasn't. But if I'm meeting a new girl at 51, and they're like, "How many women have you been with?" What's the right answer? I've been through 2 marriages. I've been through multiple relationships.
I
What's the
think
right answer?
The correct answer is good night.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer.
Because if I say 10, is that too small? Is that too large? What's the right answer? There is no right answer.
Sure there is.
The right answer is fuck off.
That's right.
That's the right answer.
That's the right answer.
But, you're sitting across from her and you don't really want to, you vested the evening in this. If you're asking that question, just stop because there's no right answer. If I say 5, that creeps you the fuck out because you don't think I've had enough experience. I've been around 51 years. I've had 5 partners. Really? Also, you're probably thinking he's lying, right? But if I say you don't want to know, which is what I will say, anytime somebody answers me that question, you don't want to know. Now, is that implying that it's too small, too large? Run with it as you may. But it's what I'm saying in that response is it's none of your fucking business.
Fellas, I think I've mentioned this before. If something were to happen that I found myself single, and this is the dating world that you guys are in,
It is.
are in,
It is.
I will never see another woman in my life because I am not putting up with that level of bullshit.
That is why he is seeking out Alex and his scarf. He has his sights set on the scarf-related relationship.
Because when the question is, how many women have you been with?
You know,
I'm turning it over to the scarf.
I'm just not part of that world. I am not part of it, and I will not participate in
And I
it.
think that Alex and I would agree that we wish we weren't. But that question was also asked when I was 20, when I was 25, when I was 30. It's been a pervasive question throughout. dating relationships forever. There's no right answer to that. And
There's no right
I
reason to ask
w-
the question.
I honestly hoped that somebody would put a caveat in there and say, it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah.
Because if you answer any other way, then you're giving into something that's none of their business.
Yeah.
Because if somebody cares about your number, don't be with them.
Or
Just don't be with them.
another correct answer. We talked about the fuck off and the good night answers. Another good answer is one less than what could have been.
Yeah. Exactly. I like that. I like that.
Because come
Because
on.
you, my friend, are out. All right. So moving on. Any other comments about that before we move on?
No.
I don't want to move on too fast, but
Let's move on before I start throwing
so
shit.
how do you rate your own skill at sex? Categories are just okay, pretty good, I know my way around it, artist. Last category is I am a god.
I thought he was going to blow out the mic with that.
It's my velvety baritone.
Oh, is
I
that
don't
what it
need to
is?
do that shit. I don't need to.
I see.
Only with the word God.
God. Oh God.
Just no.
So, Root, what was the lowest response?
Just okay.
I like the humility of our listeners.
See, right there. Yeah.
We had at least some who said that.
Yeah, right. Not many, but
Not
some.
many, but some.
Alex, the second.
Pretty good at 12%.
12.5. That half percent's
All
important.
right, no. All right, the fact that Root. All right, let's just go on and say, what I do to Root at his office is I will go in and just move something ever so gently to the left, and he will go, "Wait a minute, something's up," because he's so fucking particular. His office is a mess.
It's a disaster.
But if I move something to the left, he's like, "What, something's out of place."
He touched my red swing
So-
line stapler.
Please understand that that's a perspective.
I do believe that's pedantic.
All right, 16.7% is I'm an artist. And Root, the next one, God, yeah, throw something to him, and he just looks at me like he's reading stereo instructions. I mean, Jesus.
All right, yeah. The next up the ladder is I am a god.
At 20%.
20.8%.
So we have 45.8% as I know my way around it. And we have the humble 20.8% is I'm a god. Thoughts, gentlemen?
So,
Somebody's mighty proud of themselves.
so shouldn't you be?
Right?
Right? I mean,
If you're
like,
our age.
why shouldn't you be? Why shouldn't you be working to be a god? Like this
I love
honestly,
that. I love that. I love that.
like, I know my way around it. What?
You mean you've seen it?
I've seen some on the TV.
Sometimes I circle it. Sometimes I jump on top of it.
It's not that
It
complicated.
really isn't.
And you can become a god apparently by beating out half of the people.
Just apply yourself, is what we're saying. Just apply
Oh my
yourself.
God, that's great. That's great.
I agree 100%. All right, number one, if you're just okay, stop. At this point, you're just masturbating.
Take yourself out of the pool.
Right.
Or just try harder. Let's encourage these people.
Well, do what you want to do, but I'm saying if your self-assessment, this is a self-assessment, right? If your self-assessment is, I'm just okay. If that's you, God love your heart. Thank you for listening. Do better. Just do better than that. And then we have next that you're pretty good. Really? All right.
Gold star.
Again, right. You get a new star. You went to the potty in the bathroom. You know, whatever the case. If that's the best you can do, really? I mean, we've been having sex, or we saw from our survey, from the age of 13 to 21. And the median reach of this podcast is probably 30 years old and plus, right?
I guess.
30 to 65 is what I'm seeing. If you're not good at sex by now, try harder. My God, do some research. Look at some pornography. I mean, do something. Fuck. If you're not good at, if you think you're just pretty good by now, do better. Agreed?
There are literally 1,000-year-old books.
Yes.
that help.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Root referenced earlier the Kama Sutra.
Yep.
I don't even know what that language that stuff's written in, but there are pictures.
That's all that matters.
That's
for
my
James.
kind of book. There are pictures of people having coitus.
Among other things.
You don't
Yeah.
even have to read words. Just mock the pictures, right? And again, this is a self-assessment. And the best that we have, the biggest percentage is, I know my way around it. Really? That's the best we can do.
There's something to be said for honesty there.
Agreed.
Good.
This is our teachable moment.
Growth opportunity.
Yes.
That's what it is.
What we need you to do is take that and do better. Because the person you're with deserves better than, I know my way around it.
Well, now here's the question. Maybe it's the person that they're with is telling them that they know their way around it, and as encouragement on itself.
Then you're the wrong
They
person.
may already be a god.
You're with the wrong
They
person.
may already be a god.
But that person
But their
isn't
partner is saying you need to do better your own self.
You're with the wrong person.
Are you?
Right. It's about,
Could be what they're into.
It's a sliding scale.
it is. And we're going to move on to the next question because that was awesome. All right. Man, this seems a little anticlimactic
We're not done.
because we're talking about parents at this point.
Yeah, it is kind of disturbing.
Yeah, it just made my Audi to an innie.
Which apparently saying something right about now.
It is because it's quite aggressive.
The table's about to turn over here, folks.
Were your parents open? And you know what? Can we just table this one? Because this seems to be a bit of a buzzkill.
Are you really going to put it till the end?
No,
No, no,
I
we're
don't.
just-
I
we're
don't want
just
to talk about it at all. Because
No,
we're
no,
all
no,
from.
So let's just summarize it in like parents don't like talking to us about sex.
And we're done.
Okay, now wait a minute. Earlier tonight, I had to sound like I was getting my jollies off on blowjobs for the first 4 or 5
Hold
answers.
up,
I think Homie here needs to read the responses
No,
at any rate.
No, hold up. All right.
Did I not?
You may want to cut that out of the podcast because you just said I'm getting my jollies off on blowjobs.
Dude, you got to drop. You got to drop, and I got to drop. No,
All
you got
right,
to
so
drop.
all right, here's the thing: is if we want to talk about parents and sex, this may not be the right place to put this. And when we do this, we did the survey. Is Google asked, "Would you like us to randomize the questions?"
Oh, really?
And that's what it was. This was no sequential order. So let's just go on and
okay.
skip. Can we?
Yeah, totally.
So, because the next question
I'm
is simply,
outvoted.
the next question is simply orgies. It's a hard segue.
Question mark.
From talking about
Two
your
of 'em.
parents to orgies. I'm just saying. So the question was orgies.
That depends on your parents.
Right. We weren't all raised in a cult. Filthy naked hippies.
Don't talk
So-
bad about naked hippies.
So the responses are orgies, question mark, question mark. Here are the 4 responses. Blue being hell no, those things are nasty. Red, only in fantasy. Orange, maybe, just depends. Green, where is the sign-up sheet? So, Root, what was the least of our respondents?
It's a 3-way tie for the bottom of the race.
Not really 3-way.
Yep, it's a 3-way tie.
Which
in-
kinda
By
is a
definition,
three-way.
It's an
at
orgy
least
for
more
the
than a
bottom.
three-way.
That's what we call an orgy.
We had an orgy of responses.
You all are welcome.
And-
the
and-
most conservative of our respondents are in an orgy.
Well,
At 16.7%.
for all three
Yeah.
is, let's see here, only in fantasy. And then where is the sign-up sheet? And this last segment is in a hell of a mess right about now. Hell no, those things are nasty. So those those poor folks are in the same threesome with maybe just depends on where's the sign-up sheet.
So the repressed people and the outwardly orgy-friendly people and the it's just nasty.
Yeah, fuck that up.
All right, so the 50%, this is what I find fascinating. 50% of the people surveyed said, maybe, just depends.
And again, depends on what.
Out of 50% of all the people that responded to this survey, they said, maybe, just depends. On? That's fascinating.
We
right?
got it. Yeah. I am genuinely curious as to
I
what
am
it
too.
depends on.
All right, because here's what I'm thinking an orgy is. Let's define an orgy with our consortium, right?
The brain trust,
What
as
do
it
you
were.
think an orgy is? Root.
What? 4 or more people? 5, 6, however many more having
It seems,
sex of a.
It seemed fluid with the way you're describing.
Well,
4, 5, 6, 7.
what is the number? What is the
I'm
number?
gonna say you need at least 5.
At least
Yeah,
5.
you need an odd number,
You need an odd number because there needs to be rotation.
right? Also, yeah, right.
What are the rules?
And if there's a threesome,
You got to
There's a
figure
word
there's
for
some
that.
there's some moving around going on.
yeah, there's some scooting. Is what we're saying. So we're saying 5 or more.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'll go with that.
And we're saying 5 or more people engaging in coitus.
Among other things.
Well, yeah. But in sexual activity, 50% of the people polled said, maybe.
I might bid up.
Yeah. So let me see the roster. Yes, I'm out. No, that one fella showed up. He I don't like him.
You always embarrass it.
That one girl showed up. I don't like her. She doesn't wash her hands after she pees. What,
She fails the smell
What's the
test.
just the tens?
what's the litmus test on that? But I think the orgy question is fantastic because it is something that these folks now anonymously responded to. Because, you know what, we can talk about anything we want to, but at the end of the day, at our age, we've thought about it. And now we've captured those thoughts genuinely because it's anonymous.
But what kills me about it is how evenly divided. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know.
You have
I
50.
don't call that even.
I don't know.
Even
You have
because
50 and
there's
everybody
50
else.
who are kind of like maybe, and then there's another group that's kind of like hell yes, and then there's
Another group,
that's kinda
hell no.
so
yeah, but that's that.
There
You
are
have a
4
majority.
But also there is a third group in that less than 50 that goes, where's the sign-up sheet?
Yeah,
But-
so that's my
I'm
point.
all in
You've
with-
got more than 50% that are actually kind of like, yeah, that might happen.
but there are.
It's an orgy. May I reiterate this? This is an orgy.
Of
Orgy is
responses?
something that is not talked about at parties. Right?
Apparently, it is by some of these folks.
All right, because
It's a party, all right.
I just think it's amazing that we have more than 50% of the folks that responded, maybe. They actually responded to maybe. That's crazy, right? I think it's ultra cool because what it's telling me is the folks that responded to our survey are being honest,
Yeah. Well, and
and they don't care about because they don't have to.
right.
And thank you for being honest in our survey.
Amen on that one.
For sure.
Because I will tell you, I'm one of the other third.
I don't know.
And I'm not going to tell you which one it is. But of the other 3, I'm one of those other ones. So we'll move on. Because I'm the only one fucking confessing anything.
Damn right.
Root's over there sweating with an innie, and Alex has a scarf. Next question.
I don't give a shit.
What fantasy?
You're also not wearing fancy socks, so I'm a little bit disappointed.
Oh, you're right. I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, why
Bare,
did you?
bare legs.
No,
Yeah,
wait,
it's
wait,
bare legs.
wait. All right, I think we now know that Root on the bisexual fantasy. Root was one of those. Yes, according to socks, because the fact that he is looking at Alex from sock to hat.
If the socks match the scarf,
Oh,
though, you see,
Jesus Christ.
that's where we were the other day.
And now James is slightly uncomfortable. Lloyd, you want to beef up that profile on Grinder? If you want Root's attention,
Just
so
wear a scarf, dude.
here we go. What fantasy would you want your partner to try with you, but are embarrassed or even ashamed to ask? Now, here's the key words in this. This is not a fantasy that's just left to that. You want your partner to try with you, but you're too embarrassed to ask. Root.
So we're reading.
We are now. God, it's been an hour and a half. He's like looking at me going, what are we doing? What are we doing?
So the first one's bondage.
Role play.
Gang bang.
Having passion sex with me.
What?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to say it right now. That is sad. If that's the fantasy. If you're in a relationship, no.
I just don't know what it means.
I'm not judging.
I mean,
Let's say unfortunate.
You're right. No, I agreed. I'm not judging because it's anonymous, right? But if your fantasy is to have passionate sex,
that's not what it says. It says passion sex. So it's some kind of description that the author had in mind that isn't translating to me.
Maybe.
So it's not passionate, it's passion. Words mean things.
all right. I'm all right with that.
None I can think of.
I'm not embarrassed to ask. I would want my partner to participate in any fantasy that I have.
And of course, this comes back around to root. Anal.
He said root and anal. When I think of root, Alex, please continue.
Just don't even finish that statement.
Pursuit and capture.
A rape scenario.
I'm not ashamed to ask for anything I want.
I want to try a wirelessly controlled bullet vibrator in a public place while we're having a night out.
Next response, no shame in my game. And I want to just add on to that, bitches.
Let's just say that rhymes, so that sounds like James.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it was not me. I will own it. If you call me out, I will own it. If it's me, it's not me.
The next response, if my machine will work, tie me up. No. The next response is tie me up, and nothing to do with machines. Although,
Alex has
again,
already
we're not
got a
judging.
rope out. I don't know what's going on. Alex?
They're both giggling like schoolgirls over here.
I had a girlfriend years ago that loved to eat my ass.
Oh!
Though it was a bit weird to me at first, I got so that I loved it. I hadn't gotten the nerve to ask for it since her.
Oh, my goodness. That's... All right. Thank you for that one.
Yeah, honest.
And following that one up, I like my ass play, and she doesn't seem interested. Oh, that's a bad part.
Next one, rape fantasy. We've talked about it, and he threatens it, but it hasn't happened. Knowing it is coming damages the fantasy.
None. Why does there have to be shame?
Thank you, poo-pooer. Thank you, person that just says your question's stupid.
Hey, we had somebody respond with silly Q on, I think it was the first one.
That is true. So the question again is, what fantasy would you want your partner to try with you, but are embarrassed to ask for? I think these are all valid because these are outside of the norm, right? By the social norm. And obviously outside the relationship norm, these people adhere to, right? So the first respondent, they're ashamed to ask for bondage. but it's something they're interested in. The second respondent, role play. The third respondent, game bang. All right, so game bang, maybe that's something that you should be embarrassed to ask for. I don't judge, but it is an outlier.
And it's assuming just a two-party relationship. We're not, we're not involved in this relationship, and it is already open. Then this, if it's a fantasy that somebody has, that could be a relationship killer if they ask for it.
Right, and also this is something that's not just a fantasy that we're talking about now. Something that you would want to do,
Right.
But you're embarrassed to ask for.
But is that? I mean, is that? So yes, it may be a relationship.
Dampener?
Dampener. It may affect your relationship, but is it not also affecting your relationship that you aren't free to share about?
Absolutely. The fact that you're in a relationship that you can't freely discuss things that matter.
Well,
To the point to where
Because there
you're-
are lots of ways that can be explored, right? I mean, whether that's in reality or in fantasy and role play and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I think though, again, back to the semantics of this stuff. If I can get my
God, he has a very small phone and a set of glasses.
It's an S9. It's not a small phone. It's your fucking Wi-Fi keeps cutting out on me.
That seems aggressive.
so I mean,
that seems aggressive.
yeah. So I mean, I think with this kind of thing, right? Like we're talking about what is somebody's fantasy, but also, what
That's
is
something
it
they want to do.
in the relationship? In their relationship, we have ones like bondage and role play and stuff like that. But then when you have one like having passionate sex with me,
Passion, sex.
I think it's a typo.
I think it's a typo.
I think it is,
I
too.
see that as a typo.
And even if it isn't, having passion in the sex with me. And that is really, honestly, guys, we're talking about sex in this podcast. So I think it's fair to say that if you're not having passionate sex or passion-filled sex, whatever this typo may be, fix it.
There's something missing.
Yeah, because we don't have enough time to wait for that to get fixed. Because I've lived a little while. I've been in some relationships, and I have found that if you plan to have a romantic night, it's going to go south. Passion has to be organic. It has to be about a connection in that moment, at that time. You can't plan passion, but it has to be organic to where you receive it when it takes place. So if you're not finding that now, at our age, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50 plus, change that shit.
If in fact that's what this responder
Right,
was
and
getting
talk about it. Don't just walk away from it. Talk about it.
And getting back to the gangbang thing now that I got my phone fixed.
Wait, come out. Time out. He just said getting back to the game thing.
I did. Because
Let's circle back to gangbangs.
It's never been uttered
We put a pin
before.
in that
Never.
earlier.
The
So
fact that Brent, with his sweating, he came back. Let's get back to the game bang thing.
the question talks about them being embarrassed or even ashamed to ask. Yeah, see. All right. Just let me know when y'all are done.
I may have just peed a little. I'm pretty sure I
Yeah, you did. I can smell it. God help
put.
us.
So please, Ruth, continue.
please let's circle back to gangbangs.
That was like Custer's last saying, right? Let's circle back to the game bang. Come on.
James has said he's over 50 or 50 or however long these millennia have been, but it's beginning to feel like I'm in a room with two 14-year-olds here.
Well, we've had bourbon.
So the question talks about people being embarrassed or ashamed to ask for it.
Right.
It may not be that they are concerned about opening up to their partner. It's that they themselves have this internal fantasy but are themselves ashamed to bring it out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm not sure that it could.
That it speaks to the relationship, but
Right.
instead about them.
It's not so
individually.
much a
Yeah.
trust relation or a trust issue within the relationship. It's just a deep-seated embarrassment
Well,
that this is a fantasy,
I-
which
I-
could be
I would
its
agree
own
with that.
problem.
I would agree with
But-
that. But do you think that, and I think this harkens back to a podcast we did before, that the most personal thing you can share with a partner is your internet browser history.
Right.
Because there's a difference between what your fantasy is and what your reality is. Just because I think about it doesn't mean I need to do it.
Right.
And what we're talking about in this circumstance is something you're embarrassed about that you would, in fact, if given the right circumstance, would do it. Right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
And that
particular-
alone is a sobering thought. That, like, you know what? I'm not just thinking about it. If you're okay with it, let's try it. That's a huge burden to put on your own shoulders. If you're like, if they don't like it, what do I do now?
Right.
Because I've exposed myself. I
Right.
became vulnerable.
Well, and that kind of touches on something I'm noticing about several of these too is that a lot of them touch on areas of vulnerability in general.
Right.
Right. There are quite a few of these that are some sort of a giving up of control or some sort of a like making yourself vulnerable. You know, whether
Yeah.
it's being tied up or being into bondage or in
Or as
general,
Bruce
or,
said, gang bang.
or you know
Also
that
said blowjob
that,
3 or
that
4
it- that is
times.
a form also, right? But like I think we are in a society and culture where it's very hard for us to like be willing to give up control, being willing to like say like I'm willing to give that up. So it's also very hard to be vulnerable in those kinds of ways of like saying that's what I want.
I think the key word is vulnerable. It's tough to find a relationship that you can be vulnerable in. And when we say that, you're setting yourself up for judgment. Because if that partner looks at you and goes, "You're a freak," I ain't gonna lie to you, I've heard that a few times.
So have I.
You know, if a partner looks at you and goes, "You're a freak," you're like, "Yeah, that's what I thought," and you revert back to where the cave was you came out of. I mean, I've done that. I have. It's taken me a long time to get out of that cave, but because you don't want the same things I do, doesn't mean I'm a freak. It doesn't mean you're a prude. It just means we differ in this. And is that differ big enough to be an issue, or is it not? Because there's some things we can pull back and go, you know what, I'm okay with that. You want to do it? I'll rub one out, you know, on a Tuesday before you get home from work. We're good. Or is it something like, you know what, before I die, I want to do this. And if you're not okay with it, then we have a problem. So it's all about the value you put on that. Fair?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Seems like a little bit anticlimactic too. Pornography as a sexual tool with your partner. God, I just threw in tool.
Yeah, you did.
Pornography as a sexual tool with your partner. The 4 parameters are: number 1, no way; number 2, yes, on occasion; number 3, would love that, but afraid to ask; number 4, hells yeah, I'll bring the popcorn.
This answer blows my mind.
Oh.
After the last one, where whatever the,
Again, remember these are in random order.
Right.
where there was clearly shame involved.
right.
But also, this could have been the first question on the survey.
Right. Correct. But as we are reading them, after the last question where there was shame and embarrassment, in this one, would love that, but afraid to ask, 0 responses. 50% is hell yeah, I'll bring the popcorn. 45.8% is yes on occasion. And then a very slim sliver there of 4.2% is no way.
So going back to our podcast about pornography, 50% of the respondents said, hell yeah, I'll bring the popcorn. Now, we need to think about our audience, right?
Again,
We may be trending to a more sexually positive audience. God, I hope so after this podcast. Because if you're not sexually positive,
We may have lost you.
you're blocking us. But,
well, I'm sticking around, and after seeing some of this, I'm not sure where I am anymore. So
well, he's been doing some soul searching.
no, I know where I'm at.
He just said.
I don't search shit.
Anyway, but pornography is something that is pervasive in our society. You can find it on a laptop, on a phone,
On the evening news anymore.
right? The fact that our
What
president,
news are you watching?
right, no, but no,
turn it on.
our president has been with a porn star.
Well, yeah, sure.
And guess what? When that came out, everybody Googled that porn star name. So yeah, it's pervasive, and the fact that only 50% said hell's yeah, and that 45.8% said yeah, on occasion.
I think that speaks to the normalization of it,
You know, and I'm fine with
because
it
they're
being-
both saying yes.
But if you're talking about sex between two participants or 12, whatever the orgy,
Whatever
dynamic
Alex is into, you keep pointing to Alex.
No, I went this way. Look at Alex. He's over with a hat on and a
Don't make me
scarf.
look at
and
it. You
he's
know
like,
where that goes.
"Fuck it. Why you gotta look at me?" But if you're
I've seen things.
that I can't unsee.
He's got the 1,000 orgy stare.
But if you're talking about the
How many-
dynamic,
how'd you know how many there were?
Well, was that the number of people or just the number of orgies? That's what I'm really wondering. But never mind.
Yes.
I don't know where to go with this. But as far as pornography goes, Jesus, it's hard to rein these two in.
Rein us.
Or no,
What
I'm
the fuck is
No,
that?
I'm just saying. When we did the dating podcast with Alex and Lloyd, there were 3 or 4 times I threw, and they're like, both of them look at me going, But now it's like trying to corral cats. So
We are excitable sorts.
I like it though. But it,
So to me, looking at these percentages, it's like, 5%, and we've got 5% who say no, right?
Right.
And that's that's fine if that's what your relationship is, and that's what you that if that doesn't have a place in your relationship, that's great. But there are greater than 5% of the population who are pretty sure there are aliens among us.
That there's a flat Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what?
Yes.
I'm drinking too much.
Lizard people.
We're talking about lizards.
Running the government.
The point being that
Thank you for bringing,
the
because I'm lost.
we have a vast majority of people. I mean, like you say, it's a normalization, right?
Yeah.
This is what's normal, is that porn is part of a relationship.
What do you think, guys? Is it? I'm not talking about for your relationship in general, with what you know about relationships. Is it?
I can't speak
I
to
think
that.
people don't talk about it. It's apparently there, and people don't talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so-
but I mean, that every relationship's a little different. Don't touch your mic and turn it off, or you don't plug it. But I mean, every relationship's different, and if this is a statistical,
It is. It's stats. It's literally stats.
yeah,
That's what stats are.
but it's if
It's
this is a
statistically
valid
significant,
yes, if it is statistically significant, if it's a valid sample,
It is because our audience is awesome.
that part is true.
Yeah.
Then you have to think it is. You have to think it is part of relationships. But I'm not going to say that use that as a blanket statement. No.
I am.
All right.
Yeah, apparent. I mean, it's far more of a thing than I realized within a relationship.
I think that at my age, in my relationships I've had, is pornography is a pronounced
Pornography is how it's pronounced. James.
pornography is a pronounced ingredient, whether it is that no, or whether it is yes. I've had relationships where a lady would go, no, no, no. It's very pronounced. Or I've had ladies going, oh yeah, yeah, that's
I see what you're
awesome.
saying.
It's very pronounced. It seems to be very polarizing in my age group, because some women in my age group think that pornography represents an industry that objectifies women. And then some women will think that pornography represents an industry that will tantalize couples. So, whatever the side that you fall on, I think it's very pervasive. So, I think pornography is huge in today's society.
It's definitely a moneymaker.
Oh my God, yeah. And I would love to hear a millennial talk about what pornography means to them, because we're not that. We don't represent that crowd.
And we didn't grow up with it eminently
Well, you didn't.
available.
You didn't.
Well, I don't think any of us did.
I did.
Not
My dad had a
the
Betamax.
kind
And a
the
stack of
kind
Playboys.
that's available now.
No, not the same.
But I'm
But
just
I
saying,
grew
like,
up whacking it
Sure.
to pornography
Sure.
early on.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between these guys. No, not like that.
No.
Not like that.
I call tails.
No, you don't.
No, I'm sorry. No.
No.
Heads.
All right. So
No, you don't.
our next question.
It's about to get lively up in here.
What was your most embarrassing sexual moment?
This is a good one.
It is
We
good.
need to read each one of these. All right. I will go first.
Let me find the most traumatic, and I'll be sure to read those.
Getting caught receiving oral by my partner's 20-year-old son.
The second one is
No way.
it's refer to question 2.
We're not
Sure
going to do
what
that.
that one is.
That's too
Yeah.
much effort. We're not going to do it.
No,
All right.
no.
So just so y'all know, if you do that anytime, we're out.
Yeah.
That's a lot of show prep. We're not going to do.
That's math.
It's math, and no, it's not happening.
Math.
All right. Just farting very loudly and losing condom way up in there.
Oh wait, hold. All right, can we go back to that?
I'm not quite sure
how
those
the fuck
those
does this
happened
guy
at the
fart?
same time, but
All right, that person's a farter. No.
He's got some fucked up plumbing.
All right, can we?
He's
We'll go
blowing
back
his
to that.
condom off.
All right. I'm going to go next. Mom catching me. Oh Jesus, that's a whole new thing to talk to the therapist about.
Yeah.
Root.
Kids walking in.
Oh.
bleeding during sex, bad timing,
timing.
Mother Nature.
Oh God, that just made my outage an any. Losing virginity. Oh Jesus, this is taking a bad turn. Total confusion and coming to fruition too soon. That's the 13-year-old. I think.
Yeah.
All right. Root, please.
Of course. They set this shit up. I know they set this shit up. They talked about this. They had to.
Root, please go on.
All right, I'll play.
That's what she said.
When a butt plug got pushed inside me.
Oh,
that's
Jesus.
the next one. That had to be a special day.
The first time I had anal sex.
All right. I have a long one, so please bear with me. And I've had
I don't know that I can keep this together.
I've had a copious amounts of bourbon.
yes,
so
yes.
puking for loco like a fountain all over my partner and myself while we were actively having sex. Then being called Smeggle while I sat in the shower and cried about how much I hate Four Loco.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is all right. So just so you know, we are not doing a product placement
No.
on Four Loco.
No.
Four Loco has failed to respond to our reach out.
But I do have a homemade recipe for it.
As
Damn well better
does
include methamphetamine because I'm sure that's half the recipe.
she. All right, Root, you're next.
First time I squirted.
The gagging.
Willie not working. And here goes Root again.
Yeah, that's farting accidentally. I'm telling you, people, they are working. They working against me here.
When my mother
12.
walked in on my girlfriend and I, at the moment that I pulled out to come on her
Oh,
chest,
Jesus.
there was no stopping.
Oh, he was making it rain.
Yeah. That's just the show that never ends.
All right, here's an amazing one. Broke my toe while in the midst of a romp. That was me. Root, go ahead.
And I know where this one comes from. Caught on E. Smithfield giving head. What's E. Smithfield?
I don't know. It sounds like a country ham.
East Smithfield Road is in the industrial area of London. It's about 2 blocks away from Tower Hill. That is the same person that commented Bannockburn.
Apparently, they were just driving all over the British Isles, fucking everywhere they could.
Apparently,
And they finally got caught.
that.
And their shenanigans.
I tell you though, I would not want to be caught.
All I
that
can
part
say
of
is
London.
kudos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. All right, so
those bobbies. They
shall
can get pretty rough.
we speak about the most embarrassing moment? There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a good plenty there.
Do they speak for themselves?
I
I
can't.
would have to assume so.
I would say so, yeah. Sorry. So I think I can address this one early on. Willie not working. All right. I am 51 years old. I have never used a sexual enhancement drug ever. There are times that the world works its way into the bedroom and shit doesn't work. And I had that happen at 40. I've had it happen at 42. I've had it happen.
He keeps a list apparently.
It has nothing to do with my partner. It has everything to do with my day or my week or my month. All right. The difference between guys and girls, and I may sound sexist by saying this,
But go ahead.
I will, because I've had an amazing amount of bourbon, is that guys cannot fake it.
Yeah.
We're either into it or we're not. Ladies can. If you choose to, good. If you don't choose to, good. But guys can't. If we're not into it, if there's something that's going on in our mind that we cannot put to bed, it shows up. And it's never about you, ladies. It is never about you. Because trust me, trust this. If you want to have sex with us, we want to have sex with you. We do. So, and then there's farting. I like there has been 2
There's
references
multiple references.
to farting. Gentlemen, have you ever?
I think anybody who would say they haven't are lying.
I have not.
I don't recall.
Evidently, you're a farter. Root is a farter. Root is a farter.
Just telling you, boys. Just telling you.
Don't serve him soup beans for a coitus.
Y'all ain't doing it right then.
Oh, no. Look at that scarf. Do you really doubt that he is doing it right? I ain't
Don't
talking
know.
about my sleeveless shirts. I'm talking about the scarf.
It happens. I got to tell you, it happens.
Any other? All right. Let me just unpack this for a minute. When my mother walked in on my girlfriend and I, in the moment that I pulled out to come on her chest, and there was no stopping it. You know, I don't know what that looks like.
I think that has therapy written in it.
Oh my God! It's number one. If your mother walks in on you having sex, that's horrible, right? Number 2, that the fact that there is a girl there, horrible, because there's the masturbation, and thirdly, not only you're having sex, you're springing it, you're making it rain, right? And there's no stopping it.
bet
You
that
own
person-
it. You own your shit. You're like, all right, mama, it's what's happening.
What else she gonna
I
do?
think I did a Google search on that one time. Oh my goodness! And then we need to talk about the Four Loko. Root, have you had Four Loko?
I have.
Alex, have you had Four Loko?
I have not.
Oh, you want to go up to the 5-star up here in the corner?
You know,
it's not bad.
it wasn't at the time.
It's like
It's any other energy
I
drink
thought it got
except on
pulled from
steroids.
shelves and
It
stuff.
did. It did. They had to reformulate it.
but it's like
Oh, is
Boone's
that what it
Farm.
is?
It's like
Okay.
Mad Dog. It's like
No,
any of those-
no. Well, it may be now.
And it like it's caffeinated and all that kind of stuff too,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But
It's awesome.
But back in the day,
I had no problem with it. I had no problem with it.
not now. Did
Me
you
and
try
the
it
Hispanic
then?
people, we can
Did
join
you,
arms.
Did you try it then?
Yes,
Before it was
I
reformulated.
have tried it in every way imaginable.
Did you ever really
was
have
brutal.
ecstasy?
Yes.
I mean, back in the day when it was really awesome and pure.
Let me speak about ecstasy right now. Because if there is a way to make sex better, I'm scared of it. I'm going to say it right now. Because if there is a way to make sex better, that's the one thing in my life I may become addicted to. Because sex is amazing. And it has been since I've tried it. But if there is a way to make it better, I don't want to try it because I'm scared. I will continually chase that. Because in my hierarchy, sex is good. So, shall we continue?
I suppose.
Broke my toe while in the midst of a romp. Has there ever been an injury in your all's past that was problematic? Please share.
So toe cramps suck.
Welcome to 50. It's not just toe cramps. It's the whole fucking body cramp.
I had a full leg cramp. Oh my God.
You know, I think that's a whole different podcast, is sex in your later years, 40, 50, 60.
Who's talking about that? Was at 30.
Yeah, this was like late 20s.
All right. Kids, I ain't lying. I had never experienced that shit till I got 40 plus. But
You get 5 a.m. in the morning and be dehydrated.
Bad things happen.
Bad things happen.
Bad things happen.
all right, shall we move forward?
Let's move forward.
Yeah, next question.
Oh, this is a good one. Have you had a sexual experiment turn out horribly wrong? If so, what was it? Root?
No.
Alex?
Oh, we're reading responses.
Yes,
that wasn't
That-
yours.
That
You
is
gotta
what
read
we've
this
been
one.
doing all
You
damn
gotta
night.
read this one and read it like it happened.
Yes. Pineapple rings do not fit a penis.
Anal.
Oral sex can be a risk. Odor still on the period, not clean.
So true.
Oral, the smell.
Absolutely. I've attempted to be kinky with previous partners, and it was awful. Worst sex ever.
Yes, anal sex. I'd never done it before. Had a stomach ache earlier that day. Let's just say things didn't quite go as planned. It was terrible.
Just wait.
That is not autobiographical.
No,
by
no,
the way.
no. I'm just saying, folks, if you're thinking about anal and you've had a belly ache, if you've had a bang belly earlier on, pass it up. All right, guys, if a girl says no to that, listen. Just listen. It will go south if you don't. Alex, please continue.
Okay, this is a long one.
It is.
And I haven't read it. Apparently, James has. Several. My entire sex life with my ex-husband was a failed experiment. One time, he offered to give me a nude body massage. I was very appreciative of it until he decided to try and finger me while I was laying on my stomach. Rather than going towards the G spot, he just took the fingers and kept clawing away at my insides.
That sounds terrible.
We are sorry.
Yes.
I tried to tell him nicely that the positioning wasn't cutting it, and maybe we should try something else. And he just got furious and cried, and
He's a crier.
he cried and left the room.
Poor guy.
I'm pretty sure that's the last time we tried to do anything sexy with each other.
All right, I'm just going to throw it out there. You were with a pussy. All right, anytime that he offers a massage, all right, and then leaves the room crying,
Yeah.
that is a pussy. All right, we're three guys. Pussy. All right, my turn. For
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, bought edible body paint years ago. It just made a mess. It killed the mood. Root?
2 females. That's all the responses.
Oh.
Not yet.
Yep. Face fucking.
I'm going to have to read the rest of that, aren't I?
No, I will.
Okay.
Yep, face fucking. Her and hurt her neck. Had to go to the doctor. And though she didn't have to wear a neck brace, she needed TENS unit for a couple of weeks. I like that he said it went horribly wrong, but yet I impaled her to the point that she needed therapy. Root,
Wow.
please continue.
Anal. Girl instigated it, I believe,
Yeah.
and pooped it. Yep, that's pretty bad.
The girl did it, and it was still poop dick.
Yeah.
This has devolved to the point it just giggles.
So nope.
Threesomes are trickier than they appear on TV.
Yeah. There's always something that can go horribly wrong.
All right, so thoughts, gentlemen.
Like that. That's it.
All right.
There's always something that can go horribly wrong. However, I will say, the respondent who gave the big long story about the ex-husband,
Yeah.
fellas, if you're going to try something, at least try and know what the fuck you're doing.
Well, and own it. If
And-
it doesn't go
and
well,
own it. Yeah.
just know you have somebody else there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
mean-
That's a very good point. If you're going to try something outside the norm,
Do your research, figure it out.
with your ladies or men, and that will speak to my point in going forward. I have a confession.
No.
I'm going to tell you about which one I chose on this one.
God, here we go.
And you can think about this for just a moment. So my answer to this question was, yes, pineapple rings do not fit a penis.
Just don't even want to know.
All right, so-
I don't want to know the background.
No, I will tell you. All right,
There's
so
laws against this in some states.
my ex decided she wanted to get, whatever, adventurous in her mind. So I actually heard the can opener on the pineapple, the pineapple can.
Or at least at that point, you're hoping it's a pineapple can.
I don't
'cause
know.
There's a lot of bad shit.
I'm laying in the bed, fully erect, because I am like 20-something.
and
she-
we're always
Right.
erected.
I mean, a wind blows at that age. I'm like, woo! So she comes in. I'm like, ooh, look, a girl. So she tries it, and just a few things. That doesn't, if it fits a penis, walk away. Because they are very small ring. I'm not speaking to my manhood. I'm speaking to if it fits that manhood, that's not man. That's boyhood. And also, pineapples are acidic. And they have a tendency to burn. If there is anything that's not anything, it did not work out well at all.
No.
And the fact that there was fruit juice on my wiener, it just got sticky. And anything that we were going to do got worse. And I hated it because that was the first time ever that she tried anything outside the norm. And it went horribly wrong, and I kept reminding her of it. So, any other comments?
No.
I like that.
I love the honesty in these.
Yeah.
Right.
And just
And all
you
of
know,
them,
yeah.
regardless of this one or any of them, I love the honesty. Two females. Have you ever had a sexual experiment turn out horribly wrong? If so, what was it? Two females. I would love to have heard that expanded.
I think that probably fits with the threesomes are trickier than on TV.
Yeah.
All right, so I will tell anybody, and I'm not saying I've done anything. I'm just saying I'm going to advise you. If your fantasy is to have two women at one time as a man, be careful. Just be careful what you wish for, because that's a lot of fucking work. And whether you consider it a labor of love, I don't care what you consider it. Oh my goodness, it's hard enough to satisfy one woman. You bring a second into the fold, oh, you have like doubly the chance of disappointing everyone in the room.
You may be really lucky if they're really into each other.
Because you can go get pizza. You're like,
then you're a spectator.
yeah, darling, I'm gonna go get you. What do you want? Pizza? You want tacos? What? Oh, all right. Okay. I'll go get time. Okay. So
Yeah, I'm marginally interested in how that came about, because if that ends up being a horrible experience, somebody got kicked out of the bed. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Somebody got kicked out of the bed.
No, I'm not gonna share. I'm not. You bitches ain't sharing at all.
Nope.
I'm not sharing. All right. Next question. Name an unusual object.
And notably, our last question.
Yes. Thank you, God. This has been an effort.
It's been an effort.
It has.
Yeah, it's been an effort.
Name an unusual object that you have masturbated with.
Go.
Lloyd.
Lloyd's not here.
Lloyd.
Let's wait.
Fucker. All right, then Root. Whenever two more are gathered, there Lloyd and Root is also
Loot and Roy.
Loot.
No,
also
that's
known
the-
as loot.
That's the new. It's Loot.
Loot. Yeah. LOOT. All right, so the
Brangelina and Loot.
the first response we're going to read down here, they don't correlate to the others. So, humping a pillow.
Bedpost, age 13.
God, wait a minute. Can we throw that one out? Because that's the 13-year-old that lost the virginity, right?
We
don't know that.
We don't know.
I'm assuming.
No,
I'm
well,
not.
not necessarily.
I'm not.
This is could be totally different.
All right. Name an unusual object that you've masturbated with. Her panties.
And then I get to say it twice. A pillow.
Root loves a pillow.
Apparently, I love pillows.
An electric razor.
Electric toothbrush. Don't use it again.
Any kitchen ingredient that could be used as lube. I don't know. What? Pineapple juice, maybe? What?
We have avocado oil. We have canola oil.
Peanut butter.
We have olive oil.
And then we have
We have butter.
2 in a row of cucumber.
Yeah. Nothing aside from my hand. Also, I'm not a big fan of vaginal masturbation.
Nothing unusual here to report. No need to make an embarrassing ER visit.
Fair.
Very fair.
Condition.
So we moved on from the kitchen. Now we're in
There's
the
been
bathroom.
some shower stuff. All right, the next one, I'm not even reading the next one.
Yeah,
IDK, I don't know. Really? Have you not been around you the whole time? Has there not been anything unusual that you've done? I'm sorry, I have to call
Yeah.
that. I'm going to read the last one. After I burp. I can't think of anything, but if you were to count some unusual women I've had sex with as a masturbatory aid, then yes. All right, number one, dude, you're a bad person. the fact that you relegate women as a masturbatory aid, I'm not all right. I'm not all right with that.
Yeah, yeah, there's been a lot.
I don't want to judge, but I'm going to kind of judge.
Yeah,
What's the last one here?
I know exactly who it is again.
All right.
It's the same person that got caught on East Smith Field and
All right.
got
Read,
laid at
then read
Bennett
it.
Road. Define unusual. Is Hadrian's Wall unusual?
What is that? Oh, wait a minute. Wait. What we don't need is a walk down history right now. We don't. I've had a
Alex.
copious amounts of alcohol. There has been numerous accounts of orgies and threesomes, and now we're going back to some historical reference here that
Hadrian's Wall is a rock structure in England, northern England, that the Romans built.
all right, so just so you know, I don't know anyone that would have this reach.
Well,
It's one of y'all's fuckers.
It's basically it's just Great Britain. You know that it doesn't take a long time to travel from stem to stern in London or in England. It's not like you're driving across Texas. In fact, the entire island I think would fit in Texas easily. So
This seems to be a bit of a buzzkill.
well, I mean,
We went from orgy to stem to stern.
I'm just sitting here trying to figure out how you masturbate on Hadrian's Wall as an object.
All right, that's something you can do in your own time. That's nothing you need to share with the audience.
I mean, it just
So,
I don't know.
what we can. All right, the final thoughts on sex in the way we approached it tonight, gentlemen.
So I think we're seeing, even within our group, right, of people who've responded, we're seeing responses that are a little bit all over the place. Not in a, not. I mean, I think that the clear majority of people really appreciate sex. They enjoy
Agreed.
it.
Agreed.
They have fantasies that they would like to share. Some of them they are sharing and that kind of thing.
And some that are not comfortable
and
with
some that they're
sharing.
not comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I think we see it's kind of interesting in a way because we're seeing. I mentioned Kinsey earlier, right? We're seeing that Kinseyan kind of like spread of people's sexuality, right? People, there is sexuality in everyone, and what they're into varies, and in ways that they don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about in everyday conversation.
And what they're okay with sharing,
Right.
and what they're not okay with sharing.
And what they will share in private is very different than what they'll share in public.
And I think something that Root and I spoke about with Lloyd in our political podcast is in the 70s, what Archie Bunker talked about is still prevalent today. I think that's the same with sex. Is the same things that's repressed back then. Yeah, they're probably still repressed, not at the same level, but there is still sexual repression among relationships. And also, if you are starting to date, if it's a new relationship, there's repression, right? Because you don't want to share the orgy gangbang stuff from the survey. So, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but the full accountability, I shared this survey with my girlfriend, and we went through it, and she filled out this survey. Oh my goodness. And we really meld. We get along. We love each other. Everything's great. But my goodness, there are some gray areas there between fantasy, reality, past, what you're willing to share, what you're not willing to share. I think it's a huge litmus test, because I've reached out to several of my friends and go, fill this out with you and your wife and your girlfriend. And most all of them came back and go, no, I'll fill it out. I don't want to know their response, and I don't want them to know ours or mine. So I think the repression's still there. Fair?
Yeah, I can't argue that. I can't argue that. I guess.
And you're not speaking for your own relationship in this point.
No,
No,
no.
not at all.
Well, I mean,
No, you're not.
and I have no issue speaking to my own relationship on that count. We're as wide open as we could possibly be.
Except you don't let
Perhaps
her,
too much.
except you don't let her leave the house
I
ever.
neither one of us let that topic leave the house,
Fair. That's a great response.
and we just don't. Period. Now, getting back, and I've done this a couple of times. I have to take a deeper, longer view back into history before I start saying, you know, date X was one thing and date Y when it's been 40 years. You know, humans have always been sexual. That's how we got here. Okay.
Fair enough.
And sexual practices have gone far beyond what we think is kink today. Go look at some of the walls in Pompeii or in the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, you know. So I think it's cyclical.
I don't know, some of the stuff I've done, I've not seen on walls. I'll still like shower, you know, like in fetal position, thinking about the shit I've done.
I think the mores that dictate what is kink, what is taboo, changes over time, and that is cyclical.
Yeah, yeah, you know, it's almost like comedy. There is nothing original now because it's already been done. Same with sex. There's nothing that we are going to do now that has not been done over time.
But I mean,
But how it is perceived now
that's
is different than it has been perceived over time.
and
because
that's exactly my point.
back in the Roman Empire, when the upper echelon does that, it's perceived as being royal and noble. But when the lower echelon does that, it's perceived as being unclean and decadent.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is, because they need to separate the fold. It is. So it's the same as if the royal family does it, it's okay. If the lowlanders does it, it's not.
I don't think there's that kind of class separation here. I don't.
All right, Alex is sitting there with his scarf with a thought. Go.
This is making me think of the Eyes Wide Shut, and we had a reference in the survey to the Eyes Wide Shut thing, right? Like, what happens when one group is doing this thing that is completely, you know, unacceptable to society, does it, but they do it fancy.
Yes.
But you
They
have another group who does it.
They have it gowns, and they
Yeah.
have regalia, and they have all sorts of a limo service, and then you have somebody that's in a trailer that's doing the exact same damn thing.
and
the park.
And the same question comes up with the 50 Shades thing, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
so
he's going to
if,
meme land.
if the 50 Shades guy was like not a millionaire and taking you for a flight in his glider, and he instead lived in a trailer,
It's a felony.
it's a felony.
It's a felony.
I mean, it's an episode of Criminal Minds.
Right.